Here we go, Friday night. We got a great CrossFire for you guys. I hope everybody's seated. I hope everyone's taking a seat right now, poured themselves a beverage. We are going to kick off the gaming weekend, and if you guys will take a look, we have an outstanding panel for you guys tonight. And this is half the panel, just so you guys know. Half the panel is here. We've got about at least three more guys coming around the 8 o'clock hour, maybe a little before. I see all you guys shuffling in. I see Neil Augusto, Robert Smith, Mega Cloud 47. Shout out to the great Jimmy Harrison, who says, Mooch, I'm going to be there for your show, but I'm playing Alan Wake. And I said, Jimmy, you got to be here for the show. We've got the great Dreamcast guy with us tonight. He's reviewed these games. He's played. I think the way we were just talking behind the scenes, and I'm definitely putting words in his mouth here, but like literally, I think he's played it through twice already. So much.
I have, yep.
DC, I know you that well. That's so great. Shout out to Kratos, Ice Queen Gaming. I see all you guys shuffling in. Lord Metroid, Truth Serum. I want to say shout out and thank you again to the great Biggity08 who gifted 5 membership subs to the channel to a bunch of people in the audience last week. So shout out to Biggity08. I can't say thank you enough for that. I do want to say hit that like button. Please let people know we're live. Share it out. Tweet it out. Whatever you're supposed to do. You can't tweet anymore. Exit out. I don't know what it is. I have no idea. It doesn't matter. Who cares? Let somebody know. Call a family member. That being said, guys, you'll see look at that fantastic description. Right above that is the join button. And every time you see somebody in the chat with a green name and they have the Mooch icons out there, I see Muck45 says, Mooch! We are going to have a great weekend. A lot to talk about. And like I say, the show's just going to be getting started at 7. And it's going to really ramp up and get hot around 8 o'clock. But right above that description, that beautiful description, is the join button. Those are all the Mooch Maniac family members. And I'd like to take a moment and say thanks and shout out to each and every one of them, one by one. Shout out to the great Button Basher as well, who just became a VIP Mooch Maniac family member and also gave the Super Chat's working. It's a miracle. He says, knock it out of the park, buddy. I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Basher. Going to have Basher on in the coming weeks as well. We're going to have Basher back on the show. It's going to be outstanding. Can't wait to hear his takes. Love to go, love the back and forth, love the heat, love the excitement you get when you have a great panel. That being said, let me go ahead and thank each one of these individuals one by one as everybody kind of shuffles in. He says, who's yelling? Tarantino. I'm yelling because I can't wait to get back to these games. But shout out to the great JudaZuk, WoolleyGamer, Mumbo Ranting Gaming, Tyson Webb 509, True Witty, Alfonso Carter, Brep, Jamie, Damien, the great Jimmy Harrison, Andy Hart, Red Hood 420, Ham Solo 05, Rob Jones, the great Rob Jones, everybody. Night Ripper 7, Toto Dope, Thumbs, JC 2013, Passive Prophet, Lord Metroid, who's here, Rabbit Got the Gun, Fastbender, Archwar Angel, Biggity08. Shout out to Slow Mo Backslap, who was going to be on the show. He may be on next week. He had a lot going on, but let me tell you something. You want to check more Slow Mo out, go over and check him and Forte out Thursday nights, 9 o'clock Eastern time on DPS. Outstanding. They interchange between their channels, but it's worth every single second. Love the banter, love the back and forth that those guys do on that podcast. Shout out to Henry Heck, Ice Queen Gaming, who's here, Silent Merc, who hangs out with me as I set up the room every single Friday. Shout out to Silent Merc. And our major Mooch Maniacs, for the win, FTW, Sergeant 12, PlayStation Trophy Channel, Texas Lean, PlayStation 5 Sweden, X Abbott, 4-star General AD, Truth Serum, RPG88, your boy Roy, who's here and advertising for me too as well. Thank you, your boy Roy. Scolari's Brothers, Smokes 901, DC Gaming, Miko, Gaming with Persona, and Jay Barry, who are back tomorrow, 11 a.m. Eastern Time for What's Up PlayStation. I start my Saturdays that way, and I recommend you guys do the same exact thing. The great Tactical Gamer, Danelle Brown, That Guy Smitty, Brian B, a.k.a. Delirium Blades, and our VIP Mooch Maniacs. Like I say, Button Basher is back in the house. Shadow Assassin, Raji, Domino Zero, the Wise Old Gamer, and our honorable mentions are out there without food, water, or toilet. Come home. Edward Jordan, General Thad Ape, Supreme Samurai, Julian Johnson, and our forever Mooch Maniacs, Longshot 316, and the great Optimus Code. Honestly, I got to say, guys, this is going to be a phenomenal show. Without any less waiting. No more waiting. We're going to get right to the panel, right to the games, right to the topics. I'll start with the one and only. This man is harder to book than anybody I've ever had in my life, but he is here tonight. I absolutely love to have him here. He's got the family schedule. He does Alabama football. I'm padding the stats for his resume. The great HR Bomber is back. Bomber, what you don't realize is I've recently just snuck in and put more sand into your hourglass so I can get more time with you.
They're right.
Bomber, how you doing tonight, buddy?
Man, it's doing good. Just just staying busy, just like I mean most everybody else. But I know I'm a tough one to get a hold of. But tonight I am here. There's things to talk about. We all know it. And
Absolutely.
It's gonna be a damn good night for sure.
It's going to be a great night, Bomber, especially the fact that you're here. Then I've got the great gamers, Gamut. Gamut pops in and says to me, Mooch, listen to me. This is a problem. Gamut says to me, Mooch, whenever you need me, I can stop by. He doesn't realize I'm a Mooch. He has no idea how much I'm going to take advantage of that. The great gamers, Gamut, is back. This man plays games, and he tells you about them. That's what he does. That's his job, and he does it very well. Gamut, how you doing this evening, buddy?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, man. I am proof that if you just hang out at the entrance long enough, they'll forget you're not on payroll and you'll just end up on the panel. Just shuffle everybody in, you end up in the mix.
Boy, ain't that the truth. Gamut, great to have you here. And last but certainly not least, our special guest here, the great Dreamcast guy is back. And me and DC, we always talk on Twitter and the DMs. We're always going over games. We talk about schedules. He helps me out with some video ideas, tells me how he kind of goes about his editing. This is a true friend of the show, true friend of mine. The man just loves the game, and that's what's kind of exciting about his channel. And that's one thing that I always promote when he comes on here, is because when you go over there, you see the actual excitement. He's one of the people that when he gives a review is able to make me actually pull the wallet out and actually go buy the game, because the enthusiasm, the excitement for gaming is on that channel. The great Dreamcast guy is back on CrossFire. DC, welcome back to the show, buddy. How you doing tonight?
Very good, man. I got the platinum trophy in Alan Wake 2. I'm such a big Alan Wake fan. It was 13 years waiting for it.
Yes.
It's so glorious that it's here. And I gotta admit, in my video for it, I said I wasn't sure people would get it because the game is just so deep and so multi-layered. And I'm so glad to be wrong. It's so interesting watching the whole internet celebrate Alan Wake, honestly.
DC, you couldn't be more right. It is actually, and I'll tell you, I knew it was going to do well. Remedy's just one of my, it's one of my closet secret, like just developing teams. Sam Lake is truly, we've seen a lot of people say this, but I've been saying it for years. He really is the Stephen King of gaming for me. And I don't mean that in the essence of horror, but I mean his unique writing style. That's really what it is for me. Because if you look at the gambit of different novels that Stephen King has written, and you look at what he's gone through and the different ups and downs, it's not all jump out of your seat scares. And that's not what Sam Lake. Sam Lake kind of just makes you, it warps your mind. And I'll tell you, there's nothing more exciting than that. I love the little hidden gems. I love the videos. I'm very early on in Alan Wake, but we're going to get into that. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and put DC on the hot seat first here. And remember, guys, we are going to be talking about Modern Warfare. We are going to be talking about all the big news, the Bungie stuff, the Microsoft, the Game Pass stuff that kind of came up over the past week, the EA CEO's comments. We've got a lot to get into tonight. But let's start this show out with some games, because this is the season where everything comes out. DC, I guess my question for you is first and foremost, let's talk about your initial review of Alan Wake. Okay, then we're going to get into RoboCop slightly thereafter. But Alan Wake 2, how did this kind of catch you off guard coming from Alan Wake, the original or the remastered, however you want to put it? How did this kind of take you? Did you think when you were playing it that you would love it this much? You knew that you were going to like it. Did you know you would love it? And what really kind of brought you to that score you gave it?
I think I thought it would be good. I thought it'd be great, but I think I was most nervous about the genre shift, because as a person who's played a lot of the original Alan Wake, the game was not spooky. It was spooky, but it was never scary. Like it says on the box, it's a psychological thriller.
That's right.
So it jumping over to survival horror, especially save one bullet survival horror like Resident Evil, I was just nervous that they wouldn't be able to land it, but they did. Alan Wake 2 is creepy, it's environmental, it's got some of the best graphics maybe ever, but the story itself is creepy and is so deep. The first couple hours of that game, I was like, all right, I'm vibing with this, but you can't keep this much intensity, you can't keep this pace. But they do. I put 30 hours into that game, and all 30 hours are just breakneck, incredible lore and weird cutscenes and incredibly good gunplay. I don't know how they did it. I know how they did it, but my God, I can't believe they did it.
Yeah. Now, now the great gamers Gamut, who also was saying behind the scenes, he's playing the remastered as we speak. So DC and Gamut, I kind of interested to hear you two go back and forth. Myself personally, I got about halfway through the original Alan Wake. And I even tried to go back, and I know that DC's already got his arm back ready to throw a tomato at me, and that's fine. I guess I deserve it. But the first one, I loved the story that I was experiencing as I was going through it. But the mechanics, the gunplay, it fell a little flat for me. And it kind of turned me off a bit to the game. And of course, already in Alan Wake 2, even though I'm very early on, I see such a difference in attention to detail in the mechanics and the gameplay. Gamut, are you sensing that on the remaster as you're playing through it right now before you start Alan Wake 2?
Yeah, I definitely agree. It's like they're kind of trying to ride that line between like thriller and action game, and it's not quite action enough to be like compelling, the whole. And so it's just kind of a little on the basic side, but the reason I'm really enjoying the remaster so far, the original, is because it's more of the storytelling and the ambiance and the atmosphere, and I think that's what Remedy's really good at. I call it anticipation horror. They like to play games with your anticipation, like, okay, something's going to jump out, and it doesn't, and then they wait till you're not expecting it, and then they hit you. They're so good at playing games, the mental game with you, and that's
such a good way of phrasing it. I like that. Anticipation horror is a great phrase.
Yeah. This is kind of how I think about it. So I think Alan Wake 2, I can't wait. There's been several times I've almost wanted to drop remaster just to get to it, but on that note, DC, how important is it for somebody to play Alan Wake Remastered or Control? And are they going to get those lore tidbits? And is it going to be worth it for somebody? Like, personally, I'm a huge fan of Control, so I felt like it was worth it to take this pre-journey before I get there. Like, do you think that's important, and do you think the payoff is worth it?
I think it's one of those things where it helps, but it's not necessary. I'm actually impressed by how contained the story is. Because the game is surprisingly from the lens of the new character Saga. So when they're explaining stuff to her, they're explaining stuff to us. And so obviously the main thing is that the fact that Alan Wake, the first game, takes place 13 years ago in universe and in real life, they're very clear about the fact that it's like, yeah, it's one guy who went disappeared 13 years ago. People aren't going to exactly be hanging around waiting for him to reappear. So the story is so self-contained, but as a mega fan of Control and its DLC and everything else, I think it really adds to really understand what the Bureau is and Alan Wake's writer's block and stuff about his wife and stuff like that. You definitely get a lot more out of it, but it's not necessarily, but I definitely think it goes from a 9 out of 10 to a 10 out of 10 for you if you have that backstory.
Yeah, now, so a lot of people are saying, so shout out to Astro Cyborg. By the way, shout out to Astro Cyborg for always giving me a great clip on Saturday on Twitter. Astro, it's great to have him here in the chat. It's so great. Astro, listen, he says the OG is a must-play before Alan Wake 2. So, DC, I'm only going to you on this one. And Bomber, feel free to ask questions and jump in as you'd like to. But, DC, the reason I point out Astro's point here is I saw a lot of people say you don't need to play the first one before you play the second one. But then I also, have read multiple articles just recently, and it's after the fact, saying you're really doing yourself a disservice if you jump into Alan Wake 2 before you play the first one. Is the first one a necessity or a prerequisite?
The biggest reason, the thing that heightens the experience, I feel like they explain Alan Wake and his writing and his fan base and the whole context of the universe very, very well. The one thing that, in my opinion, they do not explain well enough because they assume you know it, they never really go into what the Dark Place is or where it is or how you get to it. They never say that in Alan Wake 2 because they assume you've played Alan Wake 1, you've already fought a bunch of Taken, and they never, ever even broach the topic. Every person's like, oh, yeah, they're in the Dark Place. Oh, we're going to go visit the Dark Place. Oh, this person's from the Dark Place. So that's the one thing. I do still feel like you could skip it because there is a thing of previously on Alan Wake in the game that gets you up to speed. I still say it's worth playing it simply because I do love the original Alan Wake a lot. So I just think that you should play it. You don't need to play it. I just think you should play it.
Well, and I'll bring Bomber in on this. Bomber, here's a little bit of, and I know you already know this, but just a little bit of history. And tell me if I'm wrong, guys. But the original Alan Wake, I believe, released the same day that Red Dead Redemption, the original Red Dead Redemption, came out. And it really kind of shadowed Alan Wake. Alan Wake really, I don't know if it ever really got the flowers it deserved. I mean, it released with one of the most beloved games and memorable games in Red Dead Redemption. You sometimes can get, shadowed or or overcast by a game of that magnitude. Bomber, what do you think? First of all, are you playing Alan Wake 2? Is Alan Wake 2 on your agenda for the future? If you're not, did you play the original one?
No, I played maybe a couple hours of the original. Was not my thing. And of course, that was years ago when I tried it, and so like it was never on my radar. And the second one definitely was not. I mean, it looks good for sure, but I don't know if it'd be my bag. Like the type of game it is, like I'm not necessarily that I would be scared of it just because it is third person, and third person doesn't give me any kind of like scares when it comes to games.
Right.
But if it was first person, yeah, I probably would never play it. But yeah, it looks good. I'm glad it's getting the great reviews and everybody's loving the hell out of it because it's just kind of nice to see a different game other than a open world RPG or
True, yeah.
some action adventure game that's getting that gets all the hit or freaking Call of Duty.
Bomber,
you know what I mean?
Bomber, you just nailed something that I kind of want to emphasize is that games like Alan Wake 2 and even the Resident Evil 4 remake, there's something to be said about some of these. I say linear. I know that in Alan Wake 2 there are different, there's different paths you can take, etc. But really, for the most part, it seems very. Where I'm at, and DC, correct me where I'm wrong. Very linear type of game. Those games are welcome after playing games like Cyberpunk and Starfield. Where there's just the world opens up. Sometimes it feels, people use the word anxiety. You can almost get anxiety when you're doing some of these massive games, right? There's 5,000 blips on the map. You don't know where to go first. Maybe you made the right call. You end up doing a series of missions. I did a series of missions in Starfield, and people were like, no, Mooch, you did it all wrong. You're supposed to go and do right. You're supposed to go do the factions first. What's wrong with you? And I'm like, I don't know. I just chose a path. Whereas in a game like Alan Wake, you almost sit down and you enjoy the story that Sam Lake has written for us. So I mean, DC, is that something where you think these are welcome games every once and again? I like them anyways.
Yeah,
I agree. 100%.
I love the fact that they. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait, that's right. There's also another guy named DC. Wait, which DC? My bad. I'm not meaning to talk over someone.
No, there's HR Bomber, there's Gamers Gamut, and DC. No, TC couldn't make it tonight. But in case anyone's
wondering,
TC. Couldn't make it tonight.
Sorry. Yeah, I want to make sure I wasn't talking over anybody. Yeah, I think it's interesting in that whoever that previously. Yeah, it's nice that there's just like a smaller passion project. This is not an Ubisoft 800-hour experience. It's something you beat. You move on. There isn't a ton of replayability. There isn't even a new game plus yet or anything. I kind of like the fact that Alan Wake feels so different. Alan Wake also feels like an interesting celebration of horror. And I just feel like we haven't seen, we don't see too many celebration games. I consider Hades to like a celebration of roguelikes. Here's an indie game that's you're supposed to replay a million times, but you get little dialogue options that are different and stuff. I like the fact that this is spooky and scary, but it also just talks about horror and talks about writing, and I don't know. It's just every single aspect of this game just impressed the pants off me. I got to go to a press event and talk to Sam Lake and the actors who play Alan Wake, and I got pictures with them and stuff that I was tweeting out yesterday because it was cool at the time to play Alan Wake and talk to them and stuff. But now I wish I could ask them a million more questions. But the thing I asked to Sam Lake was, why now? I loved Alan Wake 13 years ago. Why are we getting Alan Wake 2 in 2023? Why not 2015? And he said straight up, well, we've been trying to make this game, and honestly, a lot of those early ideas sucked. We tried to just make, Alan Wake again, and we tried to extrapolate this or extrapolate that, but it just never came together. And they said straight up when they sat down and played as a studio, the Resident Evil 2 remake, and it was so good and so spooky and so playable, and it didn't have a standard inventory screen. The fact that it had the little weapon wheel and stuff, they were like, oh, we could make Alan Wake a survival horror. So if you play Alan Wake right after playing any of the Resident Evil remakes and they feel familiar, that's by design. Sam Lake purposely did that, and I think huge credit to them for seeing something and being inspired, because honestly, the point of Alan Wake, at the very DNA of it, is inspiration, and I'm glad they put that even in the game itself.
I also feel like Control was a great stepping stone for them too.
Oh yeah,
they really perfected that psychological thriller, the mind screw. They really. I feel like that was a great stepping stone, a great learning thing. I'm glad they got Control first, and then they were able to it seems like they're able to utilize a lot of those lessons in Alan Wake 2.
Yeah, well, especially Control is so interesting because again, it's that anti-horror at times where like there's not monsters popping out and saying boo, but you're sitting there absolutely terrified because of the hiss. And here's a normal looking person, but they're walking a little bit weird, like they're being puppeteered by invisible strings, or wow, I'm able to telekinetically throw a plasterboard all over the place, and now there's weird psychokinetic zombies floating along. Like the game just ramps itself up so freaking well. So at the end of Control and the DLC, when all of a sudden we started hearing Alan Wake's voice, I lost my freaking mind. Like, what?
Yes.
Actually getting another Alan Wake? What?
Yeah.
No, and it's funny because I know 505 Games has done a deal with Remedy, and Epic Games has done a deal with Remedy. And it's funny, we sit here, and I'm not going to harp on this, but I thought it was interesting whenever people were throwing out like, oh, Sony should buy Square and Sony should buy Capcom, and some of those are, either far-fetched discussion pieces, or they're things like Square Enix where you go, like everyone says this, right? Why buy the what is it? Why buy the milk when you get the cow for free? Right?
Don't buy the milk if the cow's free, or whatever. Don't buy the milk if you can buy the cow or whatever.
Right. You get a better look at a butcher by. Never mind. So it's thank you. Little Tommy Boy reference for you guys that don't know, but. I mean, when it comes down to it, I thought Remedy and the way that Sony makes games and the way that Sony kind of runs their business, they I would say for the most part, okay, Control, they're just visual stunners as well as this warped like mind of Sam again. That's amazing. And I hope if Sam ever listens to this, he takes that as a compliment because that's how I mean it. But I really thought that Remedy would be really good in Sony's portfolio. I just don't know if Remedy ever wants to become anything but independent. They always, right, DC? I mean, but the one thing is you remember Insomniac way back in the day. They said, we want to stay independent forever. Well,
times change.
That's what
I do feel like Sam Lake is slowly becoming an auteur. He's slowly becoming a Kojima.
He's becoming Kojima. I'm so ready.
He's becoming an auteur, in my opinion. He's on his way for sure.
I completely agree. Now, DC, what was the score for the audience that doesn't know or maybe didn't see the video yet? What did you give Alan Wake as a score?
I gave it a 9.5 out of 10. And in the game, I loved everything except for the tiny gripes I have is I do think that the fact that Alan Wake and Saga have very different upgrade styles, I thought was a bit weird. So playing as their different versions, I think narratively makes sense. But it feels weird that like when you're playing as Alan Wake, sometimes you'll feel much weaker or much stronger. It felt a little bit like a disconnect. And there are boss fights in the game, and I kind of think they should not have done boss fights because all the boss fights are just a normal enemy, but with like 5 times the health. Right. And none of them really, in my opinion, they're not scary, they're not cool, they're not epic. It's just a normal guy that takes more bullets. And all of them pretty much, I was like, why are we doing this? Like this, we're just trying to get to that next cool cutscene or that next cool piece of dialogue. Do I really need to blow every piece of ammo just to get there? But other than that, 9.5 out of 10. Absolutely freaking love the game.
Well, I've got to ask you the great... by the way, I see Danelle Brown. I'm going to read your super chat in a second here, but shout out to Slow-Mo Backslap. He says, I got a question for DC. Which chapter does Alan Wake 2 stop being boring? I've seen...
Oh, my gosh.
So, DC, we got to talk about it, right? Because having you be a super fan of it and having... There's been a lot of banter back and forth in the community where people are saying, okay, here we go again. Very slow beginning, which I played the beginning. I do understand where the beginning is a bit slow and it has that detective-esque, almost like that Detroit Become Human feel to it where you're kind of doing a lot more of the detective work. But where does that end? And would you say the excitement and maybe some of the action picks up? That's a good question from Slow-Mo.
I do think that's a valid question, but I want to go ahead and just temper your expectations. That is a pretty heavy aspect of the game, is the investigation and the conversational aspect. And I think this is the kind of game where if you're going in looking for that, if you are looking for dark ambience and creepy story and lots of puzzle and stuff, I think it's fantastic. Like I had the same reaction, which is when I played it at a press event that let me play 3 hours of it, and I'd say about half of that ended up just being staring at puzzles. And at the press event, I did not fully grasp it because I was kind of like, man, I thought I'd be killing more zombies an hour into this 3-hour demo. But now that I got to sit down with it with no time limit, they gave me an early review code and I just had a chance to just sit there and soak it in. I really appreciate the fact that it is a super weird, surrealist, hyper nightmare. Like there is a scene in the game, like this isn't a spoiler, it's pretty early on, but there is a scene in the game where they pretty much just they interview Alan Wake on a TV show in the game, and they talk to him about his books. And the actual writer of Alan Wake, Sam Lake, comes out and talks to Alan Wake about his books and his games. Like, this hyper meta narrative may not be like action packed, but I think it is a incredibly entertaining piece, even if you're not pulling the trigger like all the time.
So shout out to Slow-Mo. He goes, 3 hours, question mark. My answer back to Slow-Mo was, well, better than the 30 we were recommended to play for another game before it got fun. So,
true.
Right? So, damn it. A little bit of a jab there, but you got to take them when you can get them. But so the other, go ahead,
again,
DC.
I want to quickly say that's a completely fair criticism, because if you are looking for Resident Evil style pacing, like, let's face it, Resident Evil 4 is like 15 hours, and all 15 hours of Resident Evil 4 is action and funny one-liners and cool weapon upgrades and new side content from the original version. I think that's a completely valid criticism. But as a person that went into it looking for lore and mystery and investigation, I got exactly out of it what I wanted from it. But on top of that, I do think the combat is really cool, especially later on, because I got the Platinum Trophy. I ended up having to wander to every single square inch of the map. Enemies are respawning, and it has adaptive ammo, which like not a lot of games have. Not a lot of survival horror where like you kill people with a pistol, you get pistol bullets. It can tell what weapons you're using and gives you more ammo. So if you can go around and hunt the take it if you want. But I don't know. It may not be like the most thrilling game, but dang, do I freaking love that plot.
Well, with DC, to get the Platinum Trophy, just a quick question, is that how many hours, and you can be rough, you can be off by 2 or 3, it doesn't matter. How many hours do you have to put in, and how many playthroughs?
So I actually can tell you exactly, because I'm secretly playing Alan Wake 2 right here like a jerk while I'm on the podcast. It took me 29 hours exactly to get the Platinum Trophy. And I did do it all in one playthrough, and then I've been doing a second slow playthrough purely for funsies. But most of the trophies are just attached to Saga. There's some progression-based stuff on Alan Wake, but for the most part, like all the actual collectathon stuff you're doing is in the real world.
So,
do you feel like Saga is a good addition to the universe and to the story? Do you like what they did with that?
I do. She is so good and so well woven, but I do think that I think I made the mistake of going into it being like, man, where's my bro Alan? Where's Alan, bro? And so for that first like hour or so of like, yeah, Saga's cool, but let's get to Alan Wake. And then after a while, I actually got so invested in Saga. I was kind of like, okay, I see what they're trying to do. And now I like that Saga feels like an actual genius character. I think I read a lot of books. I used to work at a bookstore for like 10 years and stuff like that. So I've read a lot of books, and a lot of times people write geniuses in a really stupid way where they don't actually solve the problem. They just have the solution. Like, here's this complex thing, and I already know it. Like the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo books fall for that. They're like geniuses written by an idiot, so the geniuses aren't very smart. Saga feels like an actual genius in that we see her work out hyper complex 80-step problems. And that's cool to see. I like a character that's like, she sees a monster and is immediately like, okay, so the dark place exists. I'm not going to deny it. Let's try and figure out the rules of the dark place. Like, okay, there's Alan Wake. He's supposed to be dead. What does that mean? Let's investigate it. I like the fact that she doesn't stand around denying stuff or dragging down the story. She is a fantastic person to keep in the driver's seat of that story.
It does feel like you get I do get like serious detective vibes, like you're putting like a whole like a map together, like the yarn string. Like, does that follow through pretty well too?
Yes.
You enjoyed those parts?
I would say it gets better and better and better. Legitimately, at the end, you're still literally in the last hours of the game, you're still going back to the case board, and the story just gets so incredible that you're still just jaw on the floor that they managed to make it. And I will say that's why I'm replaying it, is that there's a bunch of like interesting plot stuff that even after I beat the game, I was like, well, now I just want to see it all again. I just want to see the whole thing again and watch them piece it all together a second time.
Yeah, guys, you don't have to worry. I see a bunch of people in the chat saying no spoiler. DC is he's a game lover, so he's not. We won't be doing it. First of all, I'm only 2 hours in. I couldn't. If I spoiled, it wouldn't be a spoiler. I'd be lying. There's no. I'm not spoiling anything. I know that Gamut hasn't played it, and DC definitely wouldn't do that. So don't worry about it on the show. So DC, my last question here as far as Alan Wake, and then we have 13 topics here tonight. My other question for you is if I happen to miss a trisket or a thing you pick up in the game that counts towards a trophy, at the end, are you able to go back into the game and finish certain things, or that's just not how it works? You have to start over again.
You can get everything. There's one tiny missable thing at the very, very start of the game, but it's very hard to miss. I would say 99% of people that the camera is like aimed at, basically I'll say what it is. At the very beginning, there's a TV. If you looked at that TV, you can get every single collectible. At the end of the game, you can wander around and get everything. There's just one TV at the start you have to look at. Everything else you can go back to.
That's what I wanted to hear. And by the way, again, Gamut was talking about it, Bomber. We were talking about Control. The TV elements in the shows that were in Control were bar none some of the best video game television I've ever watched. The puppets. I thought
oh man, mommy got sucked into a black hole. That was hilarious.
Right? It was the creepiest thing. It was almost like a PBS telecom gone like absolutely demented, and I loved it. This here, they're doing something similar. Again, no spoilers. I want you guys to experience it yourselves. But again, they have actors in it, and it is very, very good. Again, the great Sam Lake. So I'll switch over real quick to RoboCop. You can see some of the footage. This footage is quick, guys. I got the. By the way, I'm told I had. I don't know if I'm told I had to say this. I don't always say. Full disclosure: I received a free copy from Keymailer. So shout out to Keymailer for giving me a review copy. So I just want to put that out there first and foremost. I got it late.
Coming up in the world, Mooch. Coming up in the world.
Well, yes, thank you. Thank you so much, Cam. I appreciate that. I do want to say, though, that I saw the code come in, and I immediately downloaded the game, and I just played the first level. And I got to tell you, this is a calling card and a love letter to my generation and the RoboCop fans that are out there. This game is a lot of fun, and I'm actually playing this on. I think it's even normal. I want to ramp this thing up to there's super hard. I want to ramp it up and just have a field day with this game. They really pay attention to the original story. You've got the original voice actor playing the RoboCop himself, and I don't remember his name. Shame on me. DC or Gamut, do you guys know, or Bomber?
I don't know.
I definitely don't.
I didn't want to. I wanted to.
It starts with a T. It's like I can't remember.
But nonetheless, this game is outstanding as well. DC, you also reviewed this game. I'm only going to you because I know that you have played it. DC, what did you think about RoboCop? Again, was this a game that you thought, oh, here we go, smaller team, this could be an absolute catastrophe? How did you end up rating it, and what did you think of the game?
I gave it an 8.5 out of 10. I think I love the humor. I love the graphics. I love the combat. The thing I didn't like is deeper in the game, they start giving you tougher enemies that, in my opinion, are just not fun. Like the early game, the first 3/4 of the game is hilarious. Going against drug addict goofballs, the humor is just absolutely hysterical. I had times where a biker gang was hassling at me at one point, and I started grabbing people off their motorcycles by the neck, grabbing bikers by the throat and throwing them at each other as they rode their motorcycles. Then started picking up motorcycles and throwing them, and they're exploding in midair. This game is a freaking cartoon. And I loved that about it so much. Towards the end of the game, when you start fighting super tough, big robot enemies, that's just not as fun. To me, the fun of RoboCop is being a tank. It's not hiding behind cover and shooting at other robots. But other than that, the game is absolutely what I thought it was going to be, and I love it.
Listen, again, I'm very early on in it. This weekend's so exciting for me between Alan Wake 2 and RoboCop. I have the whole weekend planned already. This is phenomenal. But an 8.5 is a pretty damn good score.
Oh, hell yeah.
I could see it landing there. By the way, shout out to Alfonso Carter. I see him coming in right now as well. I got a couple super chats here. Donnell Brown, big time LA guy. Okay, I'm in New York. He's LA. He says, Mooch, we are enemies this weekend and Monday. My Clippers play your Knicks on Monday. So after Monday, we can be cool again. Donnell, thank you so much. It's the Raiders are playing the Giants, and the Knicks are playing the Clips. So, yeah, listen, Donnell, we could still be amicable, and we can still be kind, okay, nonetheless. We also have your boy Royce here. He says, shout out to Slow-Mo. I don't want to hear anyone who loves Alan Wake throw shade at Hellblade 2 for being slow. Interesting.
True.
Yeah.
That's a fair point. We'll see, right?
Absolutely. No, I think now Gamut and Bomber, I do want to get you guys in here again. For everybody that's just kind of showing up now, I know there's a lot of games going on. There's a lot of podcasts happening right now because BlizzCon went late. But I do want to say this much. We have more people joining us on the second hour. We have Jez7780 on the way. Brap will be on the way. And we may even have a couple other special guests popping in. So that being said, Bomber or Gamut, is RoboCop on your radar? Is it something maybe you'll pick up on sale? Is it a holiday pickup?
Definitely a sale pickup for me. like I like RoboCop as far as the movies. I was never part of the comic book or anything like that for it, so it never was anything that I was looking forward to. But I mean, definitely hope it gets great scores and that everybody ends up liking it because, I mean, shit, 2023 has already been ridiculous anyway with games and their scores. So, and just, I guess not even just scores because I could really care less about that, but just the fact of, I guess just reviewers actually enjoying the game and not just saying, oh, this is crap or it's a buggy mess or whatever. So, 2033 is kind of crazy, and it's crazy that this game is not even made by a massive studio that got this IP. So
yeah, it's made by Teon. It's made by a team called Teon, and they also made Terminator Resistance, which is like a AA shooter. It's not like super amazing. It's like I'd give it like a 7.5 out of 10. But it's I feel like if you're a fan of like Terminator, in the world, they did a really good job with the sound effects and really making you feel like you're in the world of the Terminator. So I would assume they did the same thing for RoboCop. And as an 80s kid, I'm definitely looking forward to jumping into RoboCop.
This game does an outstanding job of bringing back that arcade feel. This feels like I'm back in the arcades having the time of my life again playing it. It's that kind of game, and really good analogy. It is the same team as that Terminator game, and you can feel, again, this is not, don't be confused, guys, I'm not also overselling it. It is what you see on screen, but again, it plays to the nostalgia, pardon me, and the game really is a lot of fun. It's just a shoot 'em up type of game. Shout out to the great Gaming Forte, says, Mooch, Slow-Mo isn't bored of the game, he's scared of it. I don't believe that Slow-Mo should have to take all this slander and not be on the panel. Shout out to the great Gaming Forte. Hopefully Forte can join us on the second half of the show as well. I know he's working hard right now. Also got the Melodic Punk. Shout out to the Melodic Punk. He says, ready to play Call of Duty for 2 weeks and drop it. Oh, like Melodic Punk, basically saying what we all kind of do year in and year out. We're going to get into that actually kind of right now. And I think that's kind of a good segue. I appreciate that, Melodic. Shout out to DC Gaming as well. He says, thank God it's Friday. Pour one up for the weekend and happy gaming. DC, thanks for being here, buddy. Really, truly appreciate it. Guys, please do tweet it out. Please do tweet it out. Let everybody know that we are live. So, DC, I'll put you on the hot seat again here. We're going into some of the meat and potatoes. We've got about 3 big topics tonight. Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3 releases early access for people that paid a little extra out of pocket. And DC, I don't have to tell you what's going on. You did a video today. The video already is blowing up. As we speak, you're just getting thousands of views. DC, what do you think about what you saw as far as the IGN rating for Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3? What's going on with the 3 to 4 hour campaign? It's not just, and shout out to a few people on Twitter that said this, and I should have wrote down who said it. I don't remember. It was earlier today. They said, I don't have a problem with the 4-hour campaign, but I have a problem with the pacing and the way that the actual game is playing. It's not good. So DC, did you get a chance to play the 4-hour campaign, A, and B, what did you think when you're seeing all these reviews come out? This is the lowest I've seen a campaign in either quite some time or all time.
I played the first hour. I'm sorry, my voice cracked there. I played the first hour of it, and honestly, I was just super bored. But when I first thought of it, I thought it was a me problem. Do you ever have that where there's a game that looks beautiful and the controls are tight, but you're like falling asleep? I was like, this is me. It's not the game itself. But then I started seeing everybody on Twitter being like, man, this sucks. It doesn't get better. It ends really, really quick. And I was like, oh. And I started looking into it. And I made a video today called Do Not Buy the Game, because a lot of Call of Duty YouTubers, I found a bunch of tweets and I was reading them in my video. A bunch of Call of Duty YouTubers are being like, yeah, man, this is just remastered maps for the multiplayer. The zombies mode we're about to get is just on the Warzone map. Like, this is just a super, super lazy, very cut and dry, basic Call of Duty for $70. And even the campaign getting a 4 out of 10, I will admit, is shockingly low. I thought it would get like a 6 or a 7 or maybe a 7.5. A 4 is like crazy low.
Especially from IGN, that's pretty wild.
I get exactly right. People make memes. There's like tons of pre-made memes about how they give everything a freaking 9. If they gave it a 4, then I think other websites are going to give it like a 2.
Yeah, you shout out to Astro Cyborg again. He says, imagine giving Modern Warfare 3 a lower score than Quantum Error. Now, here's the thing, though, Astro.
Like, what?
I like.
Shoot, that's rough.
That is rough, but I will say, Quantum Error, that I understand that's one that's rough around the edges a bit too. But I mean, I'll tell you this much: those are two very different types of games. I don't know if I would make the correlation between those two. The one thing that's going on right now, and Gamut, I'll ask you, DC and Bomber, get ready because I'm going to ask you the same question. A lot of people in the community were already saying once Xbox came out and said, "Hey, we now own Activision Blizzard," everybody on the green side was waving the flag saying, "All right, Call of Duty's ours and we're claiming it this year. We're claiming it. It doesn't matter if it's still a Sony marketed game. We are claiming that game." And then this happens and it's like, oh, well, they're like, maybe we'll claim it next year. So Gamut, what do you think when you see I know you're paying attention to all the back and forth on Twitter and what's going on with the console wars. It's always fun when it stays nice and clean. What do you think? Is this something where people are already like, well, this might have been something? Of course, I don't believe this, but a lot of people are saying, well, maybe Microsoft and Activision, they've been talking for the past 2 years. The deal went through recently, but they've been in business deals and talking behind the scenes for a while. Is this maybe what Microsoft has in store for our future campaigns? And I don't mean the quality. I mean the duration, the length, and maybe I've even had people on this show in the past few weeks say that Microsoft may just do away with the campaign and just do multiplayer and focus on Warzone.
I mean, I would hope it's not like an arbiter of things to come, but I think that. I mean, first of all, COD has always been on the shorter side, the campaigns. Maybe not, 3 hours is on the extreme short side, but they all have been, 7-8 hours long. So you're not really getting 15-hour long Call of Duty campaigns to begin with. And also, years ago, I don't know if you remember, but they came out with the data. I don't know what the numbers were, but the numbers of how many Call of Duty players actually played the single player campaign are shockingly low. And percentage wise, it's very low. So if they shy away from investing a bunch of money into the single player, I can kind of see the argument on their end, but I am one of those people that does like the single player content of Call of Duty. I've been well over Call of Duty for many years, but back in the day I did I enjoyed being like a Navy SEAL coming up from underwater, going up on that oil rig, those immersive moments, those were cool. It helped sell the game. And I do think it would be a shame if we were to only see 3-hour campaigns, going forward. But I wouldn't expect anything crazy long, but I would like to see a little bit more effort, give me that 6 or 7 hour range would be good. And in some of them campaigns are even longer, I can't remember which one it was, but the one with the big actors in it, that was it was more of a futuristic Call of Duty. I can't remember which one it was.
That was Advanced Warfighter, what was it called?
Yeah, Advanced Warfare,
yeah. They had Doom Man from House of Cards.
Yes.
Yeah, it had Kevin Spacey in it.
Yes.
Yeah. That was a good one. I don't want to see them go away from the single player aspect because that is some of the stuff that I like to see. I would like to see them kind of up the hour count a little bit, but on the same token, I do understand that as far as a franchise that, it gets very little attention from the player base, and they have all that telemetry, they see all that stuff. But we'll see. I think the acquisition has just been stamped, and it's just been so I think it's going to take time to see Microsoft's influence and see what they're going to do with it. I think we're just going to have to wait till at least next year to see what Microsoft has to say about it.
Well, let me ask you this question: do you guys think? And this is the $1 million question. People said when the whole acquisition was going through, people said, Call of Duty always sells very, very well, and that's not going to change in the immediate future. But by the time the 10-year deal or whatever the deals are that Microsoft has signed with Nintendo and PlayStation and basically everybody under the sun, do we think that maybe by the time we get 10 years in the future, now that we're seeing this, do you think this may be the first year where Call of Duty is going to sell phenomenal, but will it sell a little less than the year before? And will we start to see a trickle down of numbers, or do you think this will remain constant through let's just say let's talk about the duration of the 10-year contracts that are out there.
I think the casuals are going to hold it up strong, in my opinion. I think a lot of the hardcore people are tired of it just because they grew up on it, and it's kind of the same. It's kind of one of those games you can You can
Damn
play
it.
with a podcast in the background or while you're talking to somebody. Or I feel like when I play that game, I'm just going through the motions, which is kind of why I don't play that game. But I feel like the casual gamers are going to hold it up for a long time.
Well, Gamut, let me ask you a question before I go to Bomber. I want to go to Bomber after this. But I hear what you're saying, and I think that the casual gamers will uphold that end of the bargain for them. But realistically, let's kind of talk about a couple of the big names out there. You've got some people that are big on Twitch, Kick, and also I believe YouTube. The big streamers that have, millions of followers. They've said that they're no longer playing Warzone. They're no longer playing Call of Duty multiplayer anymore. These are the big one. The big three have stopped. So when you say, okay, the hardcore is getting tired of it, remember what the hardcore kind of does, especially on gaming influence and gaming Twitter. It's a lot of Microsoft has gone to grassroots. So it's a question. I'm not saying it's a statement by no means. But if the hardcore influencers stop to play it, and you have a lot of the streamers stopping to play it, over the course of a 10-year fold, you could see a decline coming in the future. It's a question. It's definitely not a statement. I don't know. But Bomber, do you see where I'm coming from with this? You've got, Doc, Disrespect, I believe, Nick,
you got Nick
and those
Merck.
guys.
Well, Nick Merck stopped because
he stopped because of that. But then there was also Tim, and I'm just mentioning them because these guys are big and these guys have a huge following. They for the most part have either slowed down or stopped. I don't want to say they've stopped completely. I watch a lot of these guys. They don't seemingly play Warzone anymore. They stopped playing the multiplayer. That's stopped getting that out. Now you have the hardcore that's starting to say, well, wait a minute, if you're going to take away the campaign and you're just going to constantly degrade some of the multiplayer things that we've been asking for, could you see a decline in the next 10 years?
You definitely could. The problem is we always see it is these guys are going to go where the views go. So if all of a sudden something's hot in Call of Duty, they're going to jump on it. They don't care. Now, Nick Merckx is a different story because of his story with his skin and all that stuff and what, Activision did with him. And technically, Tim really just kind of just jumped with him, but really it was all on Nick Merckx. So I don't see him going back to COD at all. He's pretty much made that pretty clear. I could see Doc going back to it because, they've said it too many times. They're like, oh, I'm done. And then they came right on
and then
back.
they come back.
Right.
It's just because people watch people play COD. It is what it is. Warzone is one of the top viewed, even now, streaming games. Compared to League of Legends and PUBG, stuff like that, that's still just stupid. And like that other terrible game that I can't stand, that's like CrossFire X, the one that it tried being that old ass game. I can't think of the name of it, but anyway. But yeah, could they see a decline? For sure. If they don't change, they don't, bring stuff exciting that's gonna, make existing players or new players be excited to play it. Yeah, of course it could, but I don't know. It is a strong game that's gonna do well for many years. I don't think this game had anything to do with it. Now, of course, y'all could correct me on this, but the last two Modern Warfares, 2018 and then Modern Warfare 2, was made by Infinity Ward, correct?
Yes.
And then this one was made by Sledgehammer. Is that correct?
That was my understanding.
Because as far as I know, that's how it is. And you could easily, I'm sorry, you go 2 years back to back or 2 games back to back, make an amazing, truthfully, I personally think amazing campaigns, even if they were short at 5-6 hours. And then you get to this one and it's technically shorter, I guess, depending on how you play. And then people aren't happy with it. Why didn't you get Infinity Ward to make this freaking game? Like, why? Like, let Sledgehammer do multiplayer or whatever. Like, who freaking cares? Because that's not going to really change much. But the campaign, you could I haven't played it, so I can't speak from personal experience to say how good it is. But, you just see too many. We've seen it. Even IGN, like we said earlier, even IGN sitting there going, this sucks. This is pretty boring.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not many people are, even that I know that have already played it, are saying, oh my God, this is amazing. Not like Modern Warfare 2's. I remember playing that. I remember just being like in awe of how it played, how the story was. Like, I haven't heard anybody say that yet. And that's kind of, I'm not gonna say scary, but it kind of sucks. But then I guess that puts fuel in the fire for them to really knock it out of the park for the next iteration. Now it's, like you said, it's Xbox's baby now, so they better, or Microsoft's baby, whatever you want to say. They gotta, make sure they get the right team on it.
Speaking of that, like I got a question as far as with the right team, like you're saying, like do you think Microsoft is going to keep the 3 studio rotation thing going, or do you think they're going to have like or just suck it all into one thing, like a 343 Studios, and just say you're the Halo people now? Like, what do you think?
I personally hope that they get with all the teams, talk to them, and see who has freaking Call of Duty fatigue. And tell them, all right, let's put you in a different studio or put you on different projects. Let's actually make people that are excited, people that are wanting to make Call of Duty better or just love Call of Duty, building it, whatever, put them on it and then build it from there. Whether that's putting Raven on it, putting Infinity Ward, whoever. But so far, every Call of Duty that I think Infinity Ward has made has done phenomenally well. Like, they're probably the best Call of Duty team so far. Sledgehammer has probably been, unfortunately, the worst. I mean, as far as all the games that they've came out with so far.
Yeah,
I agree.
I do think they could do good being under the same roof. I think that would do them some good.
Let me introduce the great Jez7780 has joined the show. Jez, right on time. I told everybody right around 8 o'clock we'd have you here, and you're kind of coming right for the meat and potatoes too, Jez.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so, and a lot of people, by the way, let me just say this. I like how I have to put a disclosure out there. For everybody that's in the chat, which I see you guys every week, I mean, I play Call of Duty like ridiculous. So everyone's like, oh, Mooch is hoping Call of Duty fails. No, I play more than you do. And you're the one waving the flag. My point being is that these are just valid questions. And to answer Gamut's question, I think for the foreseeable future, meaning the next 2 to 3 years, I'm not going to go farther than that. I think the rotation, I agree with what Bomber said, but I think the rotation stays as is. There's a lot going on with Microsoft right now, right? I mean, they're still trying to get their hands around what's going on with ZeniMax and all those teams. There's people that are coming in. There's people who are leaving. There's, you have the gentleman from Tango Gameworks that left. I mean, there's a lot that they have to deal with. Mikami, right? And then you also have 13,000 new employees with Activision Blizzard, if not more. So I don't think that they're going to go in and start taking people off. Go ahead, Jez.
Yeah, and also too, like, we don't know how they're going to manage it. And what's up, guys? How's everybody doing? It's Friday. Hit that like button. But when Bobby Kotick heads out in December, we'll see who the new lead would be and how they're going to integrate it, like how they did ZeniMax. Booty is covering that now. I don't know if Booty's going to get Call of Booty. Like, he's going to be walking Call of Booty. He's going to get the whole Activision under him. I don't know if they're going to make Booty run that whole thing. But or they're gonna put somebody else in charge as like you head off Activision. So we'll find out probably in January on who they're going to, how they're gonna handle the side of Activision, or just integrate them just like they did with ZeniMax under Matt Booty. So we don't know. But I was hearing you guys talk about the whole the cycle, and I agree. Infinity Ward's number one. Sledgehammer is the C team of the Call of Duties, and I think we called it last year when we saw what Modern Warfare 2 was. We knew Sledgehammer was up next because Treyarch did theirs, and I knew that this year was going to be their turn. And actually, if you remember, we weren't even expecting to get a Call of Duty this year. There was rumors that they were going to skip this year. And we wound up getting this kind of thing put together, and it seems like it's a mishmash of a whole bunch of different things, maps from old, campaign, kind of thrown in there, that zombie open world thing, and that's kind of like this year's like the mishmash. And one thing I pointed out on my show was that this is the first time we've ever got a back-to-back Modern Warfare Call of Duty. It's always been like the Modern Warfare, the Treyarch one, the Sledgehammer one, Advanced Warfare, whatever it is. Whatever they did with the jetpacks and stuff. So like this is the first back-to-back we've got of Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3. This is one of the first times ever we did it in the whole Call of Duty kind of storyline. Ever since they were doing the 3 developers on it.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. So Jez, you were just saying, so is Sledgehammer is the one that made the one we're getting right now?
Yeah. Sledgehammer is the one that worked on it, and Sledgehammer was the one that made. I always mix them up. The Advanced Warfare, the one that had the jetpacks. Yep. They made that one too, and then they did I remember them talking about that one. So yeah, this is the Sledgehammer one. I think they worked on. This is not Infinity Ward, and it's not Treyarch. Treyarch does the Black Ops.
And I do think, Mooch, to answer your question like definitively, I do think it's too early to like lay the consequences at the feet of Microsoft. Like the integration of companies of this size takes so long.
Yeah.
I agree. Yeah, this is not their fault. Yeah, like
No.
I want to jump on that. Which R.J. Obama's saying. You know, I've been through integrations and mergers and things like that. The first time, as soon as somebody says our company's getting bought or our company's in a merger, everything comes to a halt. Nobody knows nobody's starting up new projects. Everything is business as usual.
Business as usual. Yeah.
Hold the line. And I don't know if anybody else has been in kind of mergers and stuff, but that's everybody just kind of in a stalemate. You're just doing your job. You don't know if you're going to be here at the end. You don't know if your job is going to be changed. You don't know how they're going to integrate you. And the companies are the same thing. They don't want anybody to move anywhere. They don't want anybody for mass quitting. They don't want to. They want to keep everybody where they are until after all the stuff has been signed, and then we're integrated. Now we can start moving pieces around, but don't touch anything until that time. And I think this is a result of it. I think this is just kind of like they just had some stuff on the cutting room floor or whatever, and they were just like, put it together. Let's go.
Yeah, they're not going to take any chances. You know what I mean? They're just
yeah.
So DC, what's your take on it, DC? I want to get your take overall.
I think the game is very bad, and I do think there have been some leaks that there was supposed to be a bigger Call of Duty next year, and they did kind of just take a bunch of scraps together and glue them together, because this is definitely just modernware for 2.5. Like even the game itself is literally in system labeled as DLC. But I mean, that's not necessarily always a bad thing. There have been, rushed projects that turned out great. Sometimes pressure makes diamonds. I think what I'm curious about, a rhetorical question that we can't possibly know the answer of, is if Call of Duty begins to decline. There was those numbers during the Activision Blizzard trial that showed something like, what is it? It's like a couple million people own a PlayStation 5 and only play Call of Duty. It was something crazy. Like 4 million people have only ever put Call of Duty discs into their console. I'm curious, if Call of Duty does go downhill, how many people just straight up quit gaming? Because I play a lot of MMORPGs in my free time to decompress and stuff like World of Warcraft and Final Fantasy XIV. You run into people that say, if this game starts to suck, I'm going to quit gaming. There are people that only play a particular franchise and never go outside the lines. I'm just curious, if Call of Duty continues on this 4 out of 10 track, how many less PS5s sell? How many less Xboxes sell? Like, how many less people literally stop buying consoles? If we'll notice that dip on the chart.
That was a rhetorical. That's rhetorical, but I think, and Bomber, I'll give you the mic in a second. I think that's rhetorical, like you were saying, DC. But and like I always say on the show, I don't like to use small census size. I do have a friend of mine that only plays Call of Duty, and he was just he went right to, he buys the new Call of Duty and he plays a lot of Warzone. He recently, in the past, maybe a year after COVID lifted and we weren't all home, he stopped playing Warzone and he stopped playing Call of Duty. Not because of the quality of the game. He was a little upset with, he really enjoyed what we had that first season in Warzone and what they've done to the maps, especially what they did with like Caldera, things like that, really soured a lot of people. But yeah, to answer DC's question, and again, it's a census size of 1 means nothing. He doesn't really game anymore. He stopped. He was just playing Warzone and Call of Duty. Again, it has nothing to do with the 4 out of 10 or the game that came out today. This is going back a year now or two. But he stopped. So that is an interesting point when people do kind of lose love and affection they had for that one game they were playing in their Xbox or PlayStation. Does that hurt the game itself? I don't know. That's something we have to see over multiple years. Go ahead, Bomber. I just wanted to add that one tidbit.
No. All I was gonna say is just like I don't see in the future that we see multiple back-to-back like 4s and bad reviews off of a Call of Duty game. We've really never seen that to date. I mean, like Ghost was probably the worst off out of all of them, and that was mainly because of the multiplayer. This time around, it's mainly the campaign, and again, the very silent few actually play the campaign.
Yeah,
so again,
exactly.
it's still that, like, is this 4 gonna hurt COD? Probably not. not again.
True, yeah.
No,
people are gonna
because,
go,
yeah,
okay,
nobody's-
so campaign sucks. Okay, I'm still gonna play Warzone.
Good, I don't play it anyway. Right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I still got my skins from Modern Warfare 2. Cool, I'm good. And I think that's what drives Call of Duty. That's the reason why it makes money is multiplayer, not for campaign, which we all know. I personally love the campaigns, just like, I mean, most everybody here. I mean, I do enjoy them. And so I hope to God they put, like I said, I just hope they put people that are passionate, that want to make a good game for COD and want to be happy to make COD, be in COD, and not just like you say, like turn everybody into, okay, now you're just Call of Duty people,
Mhm.
and that's all you'll have to do. Like, no, like let people be that are passionate for it do it, and the people that are tired of it, let them go somewhere else. It's kind of like the Halo people. You know, there was a lot of Halo guys that left out of 343 because they were, you know, they didn't want to keep doing Halo. So I'm hoping, like, that's what I'm kind of hoping for. I don't want just the same stuff. And like Infinity Ward so far, like I said earlier, though, is they are the ones that probably made the best Call of Duties to date. Next to, I guess, Treyarch because of Black Ops. I can't really downsize Black Ops because the first two were amazing. So I don't know. I hope they don't keep doing this back and forth because I think that's where you get this mix, especially with campaigns. If they're mixing, like, because like these last two, they're making this, you know, a continuous story. Well, if you're having somebody else make this story, it's pretty stupid. Like, tell me, like, all of a sudden you're gonna put Insomniac and make God of War.
Right.
You want them to do that? No.
That's a good analogy. I like that.
Like, now, granted, I know they don't make the same type games. I get it, but you know what I mean. Like, it would just be like you're taking somebody that doesn't. They don't make the better game, and all of a sudden you're gonna. I mean, now Insomniac probably could knock it out of the park because they are freaking. I don't know what they are, freaking wizards over there, but.
You know, there's.
I wouldn't even worry too much. Like, Call of Duty is such a cornerstone. It's such a huge moneymaker. It is so important that if something were to catastrophically go critically wrong, like, they would address it, and they would address it quickly, in my opinion.
You know, go ahead, Bomber, please.
Oh, no. Sorry. I think the jump on what you were talking about earlier about, like, all the big streamers, I think Shroud was one of the other ones that came out and started talking about how all these top streamers are wasting their time playing Call of Duty when they could be playing games like Halo and PUBG and some other ones that are, you know, take more skill to play and actually be at a better performance. Because like Call of Duty, I mean, it's a twitch shooter, so if you're quick on your heels and quick with your mouse click,
reaction time over everything.
Reaction time wins all. We're on Halo. I don't care what your reaction time is, not always means you're going to win. So I think that's where there's a big difference there. And like right now, of course, I'll say it, I don't care, but Halo is freaking amazing right now. It's probably on its best leg it's been on since it came out. And it's kind of funny to see.
How many maps do they have, Bomber, if you don't mind me asking right now? How many maps are available now on Halo?
I mean, total maps now? I mean, crap.
Yeah.
They got tons of Forge maps. I was playing it, and dude, they made the Halo 2 maps again, like some of the Halo 2 maps again.
Yeah.
Pretty wild.
They have like 30-something maps that just they have made, and then you have all the hundreds of maps that players have made, and then you go in and play.
Yeah.
I mean, there's Andy's.
What was the map's name that was in the cave? I think it was from Halo 2. It was in the cave. I forgot.
Dude, you would get me on that one. I don't.
It was in the cave with the Banshee and the Ghost. It was.
I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. I capture the flag on that all the time, and there's like the base at the bottom of the hill inside the cave.
Exactly. That one I played on. That was, but then I played on a remake of I forgot what it was called. I think it was called Rat. It wasn't called. It was called Rat's Nest. I think that was my favorite map. I think it was from Halo 3. It has like basically it has a ring, like basically a ring around it with people could ride vehicles around it, and then everybody goes inside for like I played King of the Hill on there, and that's like I think it's called Rat Trap or Rat Nest or something like that. But yeah, the remakes and they didn't make it. It was like a Forge map, but actually they're pretty good and the layouts are great. You know, I just think what they needed to do in Halo is that I think we needed some newer weapons and maybe some newer vehicles and things like that. That would have been good to add in addition to the playing on the maps. But the gunplay it's there and stuff like that. So yeah, it's
No,
they added tons of game modes in it too. There's tons of game modes. The
You just-
Infection, they got Big Team Battle, Big Social.
You just had Jez and Bomber going back and forth, really enjoying Halo. And shout out to shout out to Treybone. Treybone, I gotta tell you, Treybone, you make people want to drive to drink. I don't really understand. He says, where was all
That wasn't Rat Face. It was called Rat Race. Rat Race is a funny ass movie though. I'll tell you that. It's my favorite movie.
He says, where was all this concern for COD before it was known Microsoft was trying to buy ABK? Every year people bash Call of Duty and then buy Call of Duty.
Last year.
Every single year, Treybone. Every year. And then you have Bomber and Jez literally praising Halo right now. Absolutely. And your response in the chat was, stop underselling Halo. I don't know.
Maybe it's just because maybe it's because I said, I don't know if you like it or not, but I don't know if
not everyone's gonna like it, Bomber.
But
it's
so good right now. No. I'll say
the problem is
it hard.
But what I'll tell you, the issue is that it's great, but we're talking 3 years, 3 years later, and that's what's great about the free to play. I guess with them, and that's maybe what they wanted to do. But I think this stuff all should have been there day one. It would have been a much bigger.
Halo had the gameplay. It was on.
It always had the gameplay.
It had the hype. It had when Infinite dropped, it was everybody was talking about it.
Yeah.
I even made a video about it, which I don't do very often. And it's so good. And they just didn't have the content to do a live service.
They didn't have
you got to have a
thing. They didn't have the content. Yeah,
you got to have an amazing amount of content to do live service.
Now they got it. Now they have the more customization options. They're finally hitting on all the cylinders as well.
The leveling system was broke.
Oh God, yeah.
It wasn't. It still is not even as good as Master Chief Collection. It's still not tied into any kind of badges or anything like that. They added some more ways to get XP, but it's still not even at the level Master Chief Collection was, or even the previous Halos of actually skill based leveling up with headshots or badges, double kills, triple kills, kill-taculars or anything like that. You should be getting more XP for that. You don't. They still never fixed that.
If it was at where it is today, when it launched, I think we'd be talking about a completely different story. Totally different story. Yeah. Especially
for a free-to-play game. Now free-to-play games, it's not as egregious as a lot of these free-to-play games are. But, it's not popping up with all crazy stuff and things like that. It's pretty slimline free-to-play game.
Yeah, I've always been...
I will say that Blizzard needs to freaking look at 343 and learn how to do freaking...
Right? Oh my God, Overwatch 2 is... Yeah,
Jesus
exactly.
Christ, dude.
Oh my God.
Diablo is literally one of my favorite games ever. Just Diablo as far as a franchise. And you literally screwed everybody when it comes to a battle pass. Come on, guys.
Yeah, I'm playing Diablo right now. I have a big old Diablo tattoo. Yeah, I agree. Diablo needs some help.
Dude, God. I mean, come on. You can't...
Please tell me this is an April Fool's joke.
No,
you can't have an April Fool.
Yeah, I love that.
Have a battle pass and me go through the whole battle pass and still can't get enough points to get the next battle pass.
Yeah.
Come on, guys.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people didn't everyone kind of say that the recent new season that was updated has kind of fixed a lot of those issues with Diablo, or am I off?
Yes.
There are some fixes for sure that's helped. A lot of quality of life stuff that everybody was hating on. The XP stuff is better.
Oh yeah.
But the battle pass is still an issue. I still think their shop is still an issue because my whole purpose of Diablo was always getting the awesome loot, but also it looks cool. Well, guess what? It's as generic as possible. And if you want to look cool, you have to spend $28 to get a skin of of certain weapons or whatever. And that's what sucks. I hated that. I don't know. Diablo 3, if you got a badass looking weapon, you got a badass looking weapon. And you just keep farming for a better, cool looking weapon so you can transmog it. This one, you can't do that. They just had a certain amount of weapons and that was it. And you're not going to get anything better unless you pay for the skin to make it look better. And that's stupid. Bothers me.
Yeah,
I know it's just optional. I get it. It's just cosmetic, but it's also that looter in me that I'm trying. I want to grind to have the better loot, which is ultimately the stats. But I also want it to look cool, but it doesn't. In order for it to look really cool, you literally have to pay money, and that's stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to the great Brap who's joined us. Brap, no, Jez, you can comment if you want to welcome Brap to the show. Go ahead, Jez.
Yeah, actually, just to jump back to Call of Duty, I think the issue too with the campaign is that they made everybody play the campaign a week early, so that's why there's such a focus on the campaign. I think if it wasn't one of their strong points, I don't know why they would let people play it a week early. Just kind of release it with the game, and then kind of like snowshoe it in with the multiplayer and the zombies or whatever you're gonna do. But the fact that they just released this campaign, it's short and it is what it is, and it's not very innovative. And there's from what I heard, I haven't played it because I didn't pre-order this one, and I played the beta of it. I was not a fan of the maps. I couldn't believe that the maps were the same old thing. But anyway, they basically having this campaign a week early and being that be the story. I don't know why you would. I know why they did it, because they know people don't want to get play the campaign and get backlogged and leveling up and stuff. Everybody wants to play the multiplayer day one, but the problem is that the campaign wasn't their strong point, and that's what they kind of just gave everybody for a week early.
Yeah, no, exactly. And then the one thing I did want to kind of mention on Halo, and I've been more, and I think Bomber said it. The one thing that when it comes down to this, or maybe it was even Jez, I've always been more of a Call of Duty fan. I like that Twitch shooter thing a little bit more. I like having loadouts. I like playing a game, getting my weapons maxed out, and then going into like a war zone. And then having, you get to a certain level, circles close, you get to buy your loadout, etc. This and that. You guys know how the battle royale thing plays out. Halo, I think the multiplayer, even from day one, the maps weren't there, the support and that fact wasn't there, but the game played amazing. My biggest thing with Halo is I'm there for Halo for the campaign, and I'm surprised when I see so many Xbox fans in the chat. They're always just like, well, Halo's great. But I understand that
campaign was not good.
The campaign wasn't good.
I played it for like 8 hours, maybe.
I put a lot of time into that campaign. I enjoyed it for what it was, but the fact the map totally lies to you. It looks way bigger. It turns out the whole end of the game is this corner that you never get to go back to. It's very weird. And also, did you see a thing where somebody won a Halo tournament and they're like, "What do you want next in Halo?" They went campaign DLC, and they ripped the mic out of his hand.
Oh yeah, he's like, "Yeah, we won't say yeah."
That was insane.
Infinite was the first
team is
campaign
gone.
that I never finished. Like I never finished. I played all the other ones, but I'm one of those old head Bungie Halo original trilogy guys, plus original trilogy plus Reach. That's my Halo.
Yeah, very few set piece moments. Very there were open areas that had and especially in the end, they were just open areas with no enemies in them, big empty rooms. You're like, is there supposed to be a fight in here or something?
Right.
But you just walk right through it. And
Well, you were either in a purple tunnel or on a floating island.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know.
The training
that's
grounds.
the other thing they need too. I think that they need a little graphic, a little update, because those fire effects and everything that they got, the grenades and stuff, it's still kind of weak. I know it shipped really bad, and they did do a little fix to it, but I was throwing grenades and fighting the fire effects, and just the effects of the stuff does not look good. I think still Halo 3 and those other ones had better explosions with the vehicles and stuff. I know they fixed it.
Halo 4.
They were just so epic too. The epicness, man. We're just
a
lot of that nostalgia. I will say,
man, it was
hot damn.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I'm just hoping that if Microsoft 343 is listening, I would love this to see more get added to the campaign. That's what I'm looking for. I would jump right back in there. Shit, I'd stream it. I don't care. I enjoyed it. I don't dare ever say I played more hours of a game than Dreamcast, guys. So I'm not going to say that. But I played a lot of Halo Infinite, and I shout out to Brap. Brap actually got a hold of me. He saw when the game came out. He hits me up right away on Xbox. He's like, "Yo, what do you think?" And you could say, Brap, I was like, I'm kind of liking it. I enjoyed the campaign when it started, but it just got so redundant. The world was so big and so empty. I just felt like as I was getting halfway through it, but Brap, what I want to kind of ask you, and by the way, guys, I'd love to have everybody here. We got 317 people here. Let's just do Mooch a favor. Let's get up to 200 likes. Go ahead and hit that like button. I really appreciate it. Brap, we're really talking more about, the fallout of what's going on over the course of the past 2 days with Modern Warfare 3 and the 4-hour campaign. I kind of wanted to get your take on that. We kind of transitioned that. It went into Halo, and rightfully so, because Halo multiplayer is in a very good place right now. But Brap, what do you think when it comes down to the Modern Warfare 3 4-hour campaign? Is this something that you think is just a one-time thing where they pieced everything together to kind of put something out quick this year? Or is this something that we're going to start to see? You remember last week and the week before on the show, there were people on the panel that were saying we may see 4-hour campaigns. We may see them get rid of the campaign and maybe just focus on multiplayer or Warzone. What do you think?
It's interesting. Like it's hard to say. I mean, obviously this is speculation, but I is this a kind of a way for them to put minimal work in the campaign side of things? I mean, maybe there's metrics there that show them that, or player data that show them that, hey, people really don't play a lot of the campaign, and so maybe our times should be or maybe our resources are best focused on building a great multiplayer experience, and that be the focus. We'll know next year when we see the next COD.
I think that's very much the case. I think in the past they even given us numbers and they opened that box up for us. I just can't remember what the numbers were. I remember them being pretty shocking.
Yeah, I'm gonna Google it real quick while we're talking about it.
Yeah, but I also know like the 1 year with Black Ops when they didn't have the campaign, like people were like, well, wait a minute, like what do you mean there's campaign? So it's going to be interesting to see how they move forward with the franchise. When I heard it was 3 to 4 hours, like I can't say much. I was disappointed,
right?
And frankly, because this Modern Warfare, I just feel like, and again, this is just my opinion, and I just feel like there was a little more chatter and excitement amongst the people that I game with. Like I know you and I last year, and Delirium Blades and others were like really excited about Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Even I think we all were like in the beta too. This one came out, I was like, and others that I game with, like Slomo. I mean, I think Slomo actually did play the beta, but someone loves first-person shooters. But even talking to him, I just didn't get the sense of excitement about this iteration of Call of Duty versus last year. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how the game does in terms of engagement and, revenue numbers. Frankly, I'd be surprised if it tops what Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 did in terms of revenue. I think it hit $1 billion in revenue its first 10 days, which was the most successful launch or the most sold of any of the Call of Duties in the franchise's history, which is pretty huge if you think about that. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. It's not something that I'll be playing. And back to your real quick, which I know we're not talking about Halo Infinite anymore, but you talked about the campaign. Like the campaign was very disappointing to me. You're right. The open world was like not alive. It was kind of dead. And if you played other Halo campaigns, those were so much better. Like Reach, Halo 1, Halo 2, Halo 3.
Yeah.
I mean, the stories, there's so much more. Like there were bits and pieces of some good content, good storytelling in Halo Infinite, but it felt so disjointed for me. Like it's the least favorite of my campaign experiences in the Halo franchise.
So real quick before we move on, I found here apparently 70 to 80% of people do not play Call of Duty stories, according to basically they're looking at not only the reported numbers but also people have tracked trophy data. 70 to 80% of people never play any sort of single player Call of Duty. The lowest though is apparently Infinite Warfare. Only 16% of players ever even turned on the single player, which is kind of crazy.
Oh man, that's a big one, right?
And that's a big stat. When you're talking about spending hundreds of millions of dollars, like that's going to influence. That's why we get what we get, in my opinion. But
it's funny because of all the companies out there that really go by their metrics, Microsoft looks at those numbers, and boy, they go by those numbers.
Well, look at Halo. They didn't make co-op for a reason to launch with.
I know, right? Which disappointed me, but you're right.
They literally put out there 3% or less than 3% of people play the game in co-op. No wonder they didn't focus on it. Why would they?
Right. They have the data. They have the metrics now.
It's one of those things where it's like, it's hard to blame them, but I think we as players are still okay and correct to voice our disappointments. Like, even if we are in the minority, it is, I love couch co-op Halo. I have some of my favorite memories was Halo 1 and 2 specifically. Me and my roommates, pretty much as kids, playing through them on legendary difficulty and getting absolutely bodied. And you just can't do that at all. It's crazy that Infinite just has no sort of it. And then, it's just bizarre how games change.
No, it really does. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over real quick because I know a lot of the Xbox guys in the chat, they're like, when are you going to start talking about the Sony news? Well, let's start talking about the Sony news right now. Brap, we had a chance to kind of go over these things over the week. Here we are. A lot of things happened early Monday, Tuesday. Things have really changed as we got to Friday. You know, with the whole Bungie coming under fire from the latest layoffs and possible delays to the next Destiny expansion. So I'll be very generic with you here, Brap. First of all, you know, we started the week where Bungie was, Sony was awful. Sony's the reason that Bungie had to do this. It's all Sony's fault. As we went through the week and the media, you know, finally started to do some journalism and find out and wait for phone calls to come back in, we find out that Bungie is responsible for this. And ultimately, actually, it says here, this is something that came from one of the employees internally. Really, no one is blaming Sony for this, even management. Some employees were told that if the Sony buyout did not happen, with the current Destiny 2 performance, the studio itself would have been in jeopardy if they were still independent. Those are some powerful words there, which shows that, you know, Bungie was having a problem internally. So, Brap, I guess my point is, who's to blame here? It sounds like, to me, it's a Bungie problem.
I mean, this does sound like a Bungie problem. You know, it was interesting that people were blaming Sony, and then we learned that the CEO was like, "Hey, like Sony kind of bailed us out." We hear that from the Bungie CEO, because that was just recently reported,
right?
So you know, look, anytime you miss your revenue targets of 45%, there is going to be a reduction in force. Like, I don't care what company you work for, like there are going to be layoffs.
Yes.
You know, so you know, it's just really, I don't understand why people are so. I guess what bothered me about the conversation was like, oh, it's Sony's fault. Like they want to villainize Sony. It's like why? Like I don't understand that. And again, like you said, as we heard more, we heard about, you know, the drop off in Destiny, them not meeting their revenue goals. You know, that is a Bungie problem. You know, like Sony isn't necessarily setting those revenue targets for Bungie. Bungie's doing that.
Yeah.
And the other thing too that's interesting is that with the layoffs that are happening at PlayStation, you know, a lot of that's because and this is interesting, like while the PlayStation console is in high demand, we just know that based on, you know, the sales numbers, and Spider-Man selling very well, their profit margins have been squeezed. And so that's why we're seeing some of these layoffs, some of the restructuring to cut cost, and why we've seen some of those price increases in PlayStation Plus, and possibly with, you know, the new you know, PlayStation 5 SKUs as well. So
I think that's economic wide. That's economic wide, in my opinion.
well, yeah, I mean that's
look what HBO Max is doing. Jeez.
Yeah, I mean, we're not to your point, Gamers Game. Like we're not. This isn't unusual. We're seeing this across the industry, and we're seeing this in other industries. I mean, my company just went through a 5,000 person layoff, which is about
Jesus.
It's everywhere right now. It's going to get worse.
Yeah, it's about it's about 5% of our workforce. And basically, it was like the reason was, hey, look, you know, our profit margins are being squeezed. It's more expensive to borrow money. You know, we got to prepare for potential economic headwinds. The U.S. has actually fared much better compared to Europe, but you know, but Sony is a global company like Microsoft and these other publishers that operate globally. Those are tough decisions they have to take into account. So again, like Sony's not doing things that are out of the ordinary per se, and people were acting as if that was the case, and it's not.
Yeah, it's super complicated. It's kind of like those people that like a game comes out and then they pull up the stock price and they look what your game did to your stock price. It's like, no, it's so much more complicated than that. There's so much more going on than that. Like economic wide, like we're heading into headwinds, and like Brap was just saying, this goes far beyond. I mean, some of it's on Bungie, yes, and Sony has owned Bungie for a while now. So is it a Bungie problem? Yes, but that also makes it a Sony problem. But it's also an economic wide problem. You're going to see this everywhere. I don't want to turn this into a financial podcast, but the amount of corporate debt due to restructure in 2024 is huge compared to 2023. So you're going to see a lot of companies have a lot of different problems in a lot of different sectors. So just get used to what you're seeing right now. And I wouldn't be so quick to be like, oh, Sony's dropping the ball, Bungie's dropping the ball. Like, this is a tougher environment for any business in this country or worldwide to operate in right now. Like,
well, I mean, look at Microsoft. Yeah. I mean, they let go of 10,000 early this year. Amazon let go of 17,000 early this year, and that was company wide, not just through their gaming side or whatever. It was just it's a mass, most of it was off of research and development with both of them, and it's just because they didn't see the need of having that money poured into those things when they knew what was going to happen, which is everything's going up in price, so they're going to kind of cut all that down, and that's just how, I hate to say it, is a smart company that wants to stay above water. That's what they do. I mean, they're going to cut out people. It sucks, but it is what it is. Now, when they can come back up, I guarantee they're going to be on a hiring spree again eventually. I mean,
Can I jump in real quick and just say, I think my only problem with this narrative in general, because even if it's correct on paper, some of the people they fired, like the fact that they fired the guy who wrote all the Halo music and stuff, like, I don't know. My thing is not necessarily the number of firings so much as the quality of the firings. Like, a lot of the people that they fired are what I would consider the top talent of Bungie. Like, I'm curious what internal metrics of like, well, you got paid this much, you were set for this many future raises, we'll save money for firing.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like, right?
It's probably one of those, the people with most tenure make the most money, and they draw the most. They draw the most down.
Yeah,
unfortunately, that's
save money probably.
Yeah, I know how they do it, but I'm still saying, like, as a layman externally, I think that fucking sucks, man. I understand why they're doing it, but man,
it absolutely sucks. It sucks. Period. Just to see anybody have to go through that.
Well,
there were so many sad tweets, man. I felt bad for it, just because sometimes we forget when we see the a number of like 400 people fired, but then you see 400 tweets of a guy who's like, "Yeah, I've been making it. This is my dream job, and it's over. So I guess, fuck." I felt so
to humanize it. It does really suck. And the games industry in general is very volatile. Like, a lot of devs go from one project to another company to another project.
Yeah.
So. Just think, man, that's a tough group of workers. I tell you what, and the magic and the fun that they provide us. Like, I don't think enough people set enough time out of their day to before you go bashing them on Twitter, like, oh, you lazy devs. Like, man, the things they do for us are pretty incredible.
Oh yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
It's
especially in secret. The amount of hours they put into ideas that go nowhere. That's the thing I've heard from a lot of devs firsthand. Is like, they're like, man, you think Destiny sucks in its current form? What do you see the 80 versions I cut? Like, you got the best version of it. Trust me. Like, we are out here squeezing blood from the stone. I promise. We are never fucking slacking off.
And don't get me wrong. I do want to say two things here. Shout out to what DC was just saying right there. I do agree. But a lot of times in all of R&D, it doesn't matter if you work for Microsoft or it's Apple or anything else. It doesn't matter who you're working. A lot of the R&D, when you're working in research and development, a lot of your ideas get scrapped. There's people who work on projects for 20 years that never see the light of day. It doesn't mean that they lose sometimes they lose their job, but sometimes it's just that your hard work doesn't, I don't mean that it doesn't pay off. Sometimes your research goes towards another product or another entity, but it doesn't always go towards the product that you are working on very hard for 20 years. The other thing I wanted to mention to DC, and DC, if you have knowledge above this, please correct me. I have no problem being wrong here. But the gentleman about the musician that I think he put on his LinkedIn or something, like gone fishing, he was 69 or 70 years old. That they weren't sure if he was laid off or he just left because he retired. He's 70. So I don't know if he necessarily was part of it. They were people in the, I will say this much, DC, to back you up. The way that the community and the way that the tweets were going out, it sure looked like he got let go. But I could be 100% wrong. That was just one of those things that looked like could have been bad timing if like nobody was searching LinkedIn's before the firings kind of thing.
Yeah. And sometimes what happens, Mooch, is that they'll, like, with more senior level folks, again, I just went through this myself. Like, they'll say, hey, we're getting ready to go. There's some economic headwinds and that we're accounting for, and there could be turnover coming up, but we're gonna give people the opportunity to leave the organization with a nice little severance package. For, and I'm not saying that's the case here. That maybe it is with this gentleman. I did see, like, my company senior level folks leave. I also saw some senior level folks have been with the company for 30 years get like $474,000 severance packages.
Yeah, one of my good buddies worked at a bank for 20 years, and they basically were like, hey, we're about to do layoffs. Anybody who wants to just choose to be laid off, we'll give you 2 years pay up front. And so he's like, yeah, I took that. And he took a year-long vacation where he's like, yeah, screw it. I'm just going to sit in my apartment and smoke weed and play a lot of Red Dead. And he did.
Shout out to Chad Stud and Silent Merc. They said Mooch is confirmed that he was laid off. So, definitely feel bad for him there. I mean, because especially when, a lot of people are, you think because you're 69 or 70 that you just should retire. Nobody knows if the individual is maybe helping his sons and daughters, right? And they're all in the house and he's helping. So he may be paying for his full family still. You know what I mean? People go through rough times. So shout out to him. I wasn't sure. I just saw people going back and forth. Yeah.
Like he may be happy to keep working for the rest of his life because I mean,
right?
There's a lot of people that are in music that will just keep look
work till you're dead, man.
That we see now
work till you're dead.
Until they're dead. Yeah, literally.
Yeah, you know what?
Keith Richards, he'll stay alive forever.
Yeah, he will. You know what's weird is I'm seeing people in live chat saying like Sony overpaid for Bungie, and I'm like, okay, if they did, so what?
No.
Like, I don't know why that's a talking point. Like,
their tech and their experience, though. Like, I don't know.
Well, you gotta think it's negative news right now, so of course they're gonna say, "Oh, they
right."
underspent." Well, they underspent on Insomniac, and it's just working well for them with that. So, who cares?
That's a
Well,
real
it
Bungie's
seems like
probably make another amazing game, and everybody will shut up about it.
Exactly. It seems like with our current knowledge, to the best of our ability, it seems like a big reason they bought them at all was to help with all the games as a service stuff they were spinning up. And now it seems like a lot of those projects are being canned internally. So I made a video talking about this. I think part of the reason they're doing these layoffs at Bungie is because maybe some of those jobs are just becoming redundant, that they were originally going to be overseeing and being the tastemakers for all these games as a service games that now are just not coming out. Hopefully. I don't know. I did not like the idea of PlayStation doing 10 games as a service.
No, not at all. That's way too much.
There's only one game that they really kind of like put on the back burner, like, and that was
Factions.
That was Factions,
right?
and Factions isn't canceled as far as we know.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, like I understand people are like, oh, I don't like the games of service thing. Well, we also, I mean, like,
it's kind of a dirty word. It's kind of a dirty word, isn't it?
Yeah.
Like, all my gamer friends, it's kind of like instantly lose interest when you hear that.
I get it, but it's like, let's see what they put out first. I think before
100%.
I think that's the thing. We haven't even
like,
seen what these games are.
Yeah, like I see a lot of people like jump into conclusion. Oh, that's terrible. You know, it's gonna suck. I'm like, well, you know, like I understand like GaaS is kind of a dirty word, but I mean, you know, if they hit on one or two of those games, they're good. You know,
yeah, and like they also said that they're not all going to be shooters. Like they're going to be different types of games. Mm-hmm. But again, you're right. We haven't even seen what really the
scariest example, in my opinion. There was a really good video put out by Luke Steffens today. The scariest example is what's happening with Rocksteady and the Suicide Squad game. Like,
oh yeah,
like people love Rocksteady. They're expecting like a superhero Batman game, and they get like. This is what happens when you make a studio and you force them to do like games as a service, and I highly doubt that's the game Rocksteady wanted to make. And that situation is very heartbreaking to me. Like,
and also,
I do not want to see PlayStation go through that. I really hope they're paying attention.
And how many games have we seen this year? Games as a service games that just got canned, like the multiverses and all these games that came out, and that doesn't put a good taste in the mouth for anybody who even wants to invest. Like, oh, this is a games in the service. And it's like, well, how do you know you're not just going to shut this down in 6 months because you don't have the audience?
You see that,
you know, and we've seen the failure of a lot of these games.
Microsoft is one of the biggest companies on the planet, if not the biggest, and look, they had a hard time keep getting Halo Infinite up in time and running and with content rich. Like, I think a lot of these companies are understating, like, or you know, underestimating what it takes to actually run one of these. Yeah, and you know, they're all looking for that Fortnite moment, and what we're watching,
and they go right back to Fortnite. 5 million people, like people
scares me, man.
And that's what happens.
How much room do we have in our life? Like, if you're a Destiny player or you're a Fortnite player,
you're not leaving it.
You have.
You'll try. And they try to get influencers to hype it up, like multiverses. They had people playing it, and it hits for a bit.
Ubisoft Battle Royale hype or something.
Oh yeah, what did that Val? Yeah, no, not Val. What was that? Ubisoft game? XPG? What was it? XPG?
Oh,
what the hell was that?
Oh, X Defiant. Yeah, sorry,
X Defiant.
X Defiant. But they had another one before that. Ubisoft had a separate Battle Royale that was. Oh my gosh, my dog's freaking out.
Oh man,
my Ubisoft had a totally separate thing. What the hell was it even called? Digital something. I can't remember. It died so long ago.
Yeah, and what was it? That dodgeball game from EA? Like all these like. And like again, they I think what happened too was like a lot with the pandemic. People were home, they were getting invested in these games, and these games were kind of like, hey, I'm not going anywhere. Let me buy the battle pass and stuff. And I think that got everybody, the industry, into like hey, let's do something. This seems to be the new hotness, like when Battle Royale was the big hotness and stuff. And now they're finding out that there's not enough time or room when everybody's getting back to life and stuff to invest in all these games as a service games. I have to buy battle passes. I gotta grind to get my levels, to get the content that I paid for. And they go right back to Fortnite and stuff after the hype is over. And it's very
they're all making lifestyle games, and your lifestyle only has so much room.
Exactly. You can't live in everywhere.
There's this quote that came out a couple of years ago that I really liked. I believe it was by a YouTuber named Josh Strife Hayes. And he made a video talking when New World came out, because New World initially had huge player numbers. People were trying it. Amazon MMO, very popular, good PvP and everything like that. But then everybody quit and went right back to Final Fantasy XIV and World of Warcraft. And Josh Strife Hayes made this video saying, like, well, the problem is that when you come out with a new games as a service project, you don't just have to be good, you have to be better than people's memories of the current game. In order to quit Fortnite, the new game's got to be so good, they'll give up their nostalgia for current Fortnite, the skins of Fortnite. And that's the thing, is that we have these games as a service projects that have been around for a half decade now, and you can't do that. But that's my biggest fear about that Sony trying to jump into this. It's not that I don't trust Sony. It's that, man, what do you think is going to be so good that it's worth hundreds of millions of dollars of research, development, time, marketing for a game that probably isn't going to pull in 1/5 the numbers of a stupid patch for Fortnite?
Yeah,
and there's
also
and PlayStation is so good at what they already do.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's right. But also, if they're telling the studios that traditionally make that kind of stuff, hey, try to put some service thing or something like. If they try to asking them, which I don't know if they are, but if they were, they might be like, hey, dude, no, we do these kind of things, and we don't go and do that kind of stuff. This will be a change. And I think Dreamcast guy, you said it earlier about how. Or somebody said about how long the investment is, because that's always the thing. It comes out, it hits a big pop, people are playing it, then everybody's like, well, what's next? What's the fresh content? Where's the roadmap? And usually these companies don't have that ready. They're still trying to patch the game and get it to fix or get some servers working and stuff. And it's like, by the time they get around to the content, people already went back. And if they do put a new gameplay trope and everybody, look, Vampire the Masquerade is another one.
Yeah.
Mooch, remember we were playing now, the vampires.
Yes, we
that thing, they saw the light. They're dead now. That's it. They saw the friggin' light. That was another vampire game, the Masquerade stuff, the Vampire Battle Royale. And the thing is like, if there's a cool gameplay element, Fortnite or whatever, will just add that to their game as a new game mode, and they'll just suck people back in and go, oh, you like that? Then
it's
we're
funny,
just going to add it.
So, Jess, I got to kind of piggyback off that. And it goes with this whole games as a service thing. And I think Brap said, Sony's just looking for that one big moneymaker. If you guys will all look at the screen right now, you're looking at Fortnite. I went and played the OG map today, and just to get back into it. And to be honest with you, if this game was not Fortnite, let's just say it was something else, okay? And Sony showed this game for the first time during a show, a lot of people would be like, "This is goofy. This is never gonna make it, right?" Look at it. It's basically a cartoon, and you're just shooting from long distance, third person. It's just you may not think that. So when Brap says they're really just looking for that one that will catch, I mean, you look at Fortnite. What was that? What was the game that Microsoft had on the Xbox One?
PUBG. I was just about to say. Remember this when we're talking about OG Fortnite, we were talking about PUBG was the battle royale, and this came out like this, and people not looking like this, but it came out limited in this, and people like, this is the new hotness. Like it wasn't hot until they added. They remember this was a free mode. Fortnite was originally
it was a single player game,
castle defense.
It was called Save the World. I have footage. I have footage of 1.0 1.0 Fortnite was a completely different game, and it was terrible.
Yeah,
I think it was
they added this to it during PUBG time.
It was a 4-player game originally. Yes,
it was. Yeah, it was a zombie horde defense game. Like a castle defense, and then they added this mode to it, this battle royale to this game, where they implemented the building from their thing. And PUBG was getting pushed as the hotness, and it was an Xbox exclusive. Aaron Greenberg had the frying pan, and Marshmallow was there. I remember I was at PAX East when they did this. Marshmallow was there with PUBG, and
they pivoted on the PUBG hype, and they out big corporationed the smaller team in PUBG, and they. You know what I mean? They had the resources to do what they did. And there was also a study that says there's only room for one or two huge players in any space, and then everybody else is just kind of ancillary. You know, they're just kind of like in the sidelines. So like,
and they got into the pop culture, and they really started putting celebrities in there. People were like, what the hell? Like, and all of a sudden they started. That thing I think was a big changing too, especially when it came like when people were in their house and there was not much going on, and having these virtual worlds and this concerts and stuff. Like they lived into that metaverse stuff and the metaverse stuff, dude. And it's crazy. And now they're just it's crazy now. 5 million people back in it. It's crazy.
You know what's interesting, Jez? By the way, I brought breadsticks. By the way, Jez, I know your favorite from
Garden. Yeah.
But you know what's interesting is like I'm watching the chat here. It's like there's a certain community. I'll say it, the Xbox community. They'll downplay and say, "Oh, Sony can't make GaaS, right? They can't do it. They can't make GaaS." But on the other hand, they'll be like, "Oh, you know, Microsoft bought all these studios. We're gonna have AAA single player bangers now." Huh? Like it's like just a little bit of the irony in that kind of debate there. But
Microsoft can make GaaS. They got the guy named Booty running the whole thing. Oh
hey, hey, look, if they can get a hit with if Microsoft can get a hit with pirates and bugs,
the grounded. Oh my god.
Yeah, I have some hope and faith in Sony.
Yeah, like I think. And again, like I go back to when they showed that thing. Like I don't think Concord or Fair Games that they did those games any justice by showing what they showed. They should have showed more what it is. And you know, I think
Helldivers 2 looks interesting.
We haven't seen it. Helldivers 2 does look interesting, yeah. But the other two, the Concord one and the Jade Raymond one, like you know, they haven't shown those. They only showed like the screen of it. But Fair Games and Concord.
Isn't the Jade Raymond one kind of like Payday? Isn't that? Is that?
Yeah, it's called Fair Games or something like that. I think.
It does look like that. Let me tell you something.
They didn't show the game. They showed like CGI.
They didn't show anything.
Bank robber.
Yeah, they didn't show anything really. It looked like a typical Ubisoft game.
It just gave you that feel of.
It looked like what was it? That friggin' that bank robbing game.
Payday, yeah.
Payday, yeah.
Payday 3, which I think works now after an update.
I don't believe you.
4 months later.
He said I don't believe you.
Shout out to B Money who's in the chat. He says, "How long has Sea of Thieves been going on now?" I think that been since 2018
kills it.
Or 20? Is it 2016 or 2016? I think wasn't
2017, 2016. I think it was 2017.
Sea of Thieves wasn't. Remember the Kraken is lacking. I mean, it released.
It's still lacking. It doesn't have a body. Still.
Yeah.
I mean, but
all these updates later. It's still the 5.
But here's the thing: like a lot of guys will be, "Oh, Sea of Thieves successful now." Well, yeah, but it wasn't though in the beginning. Like it launched like very bare bones,
way too early.
And eventually they built it up.
I'm still surprised they let it sit in the drown for a while before.
Still some of the best water tech I've ever seen in my life.
I know,
and sunsets too. Sunsets of the water.
Sunsets are beautiful.
I had a friend come over once, and it was right after I got my Xbox One X, and Sea of Thieves was out then, and I was talking to her about video game graphics, and she's like, "Oh, I haven't seen a game other than like Call of Duty screenshots in 10 years." And I turned on that and immediately started sailing, and just how big those waves get, the way that like mid-ocean, those waves are like 5 feet, 8 feet tall. She was like, "This looks incredible." The graphics of Sea of Thieves, it's also I feel like a good compliment that
like this sucks.
Stylized graphics like that go a long way. That game's going to age great, I think.
Well, that's what they said. Why they chose that design, because it was scalable. Remember, they chose that.
They said it was scalable.
They said it was scalable.
Just like those breadsticks at Olive Garden.
Shut the fuck up about Olive Garden.
Olive Garden. Jesus.
Is this man being paid hashtag ad? What's happening here?
I love
Goddamn Italian tacos. Oh,
I love it.
Hey, Jez, let me tell you something. Italian tacos are great, man.
No, man, it's like meatballs in a friggin' wrap. Oh my god, it's horrible.
Meatballs in a wrap.
Disgrace at Olive Garden. Italian.
Jez hates when I talk about Olive Garden.
Yeah,
dude, I sneer at that place every time I drive by and I see people outside. I'm like, I just want to yell, "Fire! Get out of there!"
Yeah.
Save yourselves!
Save yourselves!
Oh my god! So
your ass will thank me later when you shit it all out.
It's like
you know, he's not
happened.
He's not wrong. They literally just smother.
I drive by the drive-thru at Taco Bell. I gotta take a shit.
They just literally smother everything in cheese and call it delicious. All right, no, listen, DC. I'm going to go to DC on this because this is going to be another hot topic, and I know the audience is going to love this one. So here we go. Right, we're not going to get into Alan Wake again. We talked about that in depth earlier in the show, but now everyone says, "Okay, Game of the Year." Well, I don't know about you guys, but there's only so many nominees. And I think I've heard people say this is a Game of the Year candidate, at least 7 or 8 times this year, which is fine. That's great for us, great for the industry. But DC, who do you think will really get, and how many slots are there? 6. I heard it's 6 for 6 nominees. Who really is going to make the cutoff? I mean, we know Zelda's going to be in there. I would assume even Mario, just to give Nintendo their flowers.
No way.
You don't think Wonder makes a nominee?
No, not at all.
Wow.
So there is a famous trait they call recency bias, which is in a lot of these things, like the games that have come out within 2 months of the nominees are typically at the tip of judges' minds. So I definitely think Alan Wake is going to make it. Also, I think Alan Wake is the most artsy game of the year by far, and I think journalists, judges, they love that kind of stuff. Lots of heady cutscenes and multi-layered narratives. But I think it's going to be interesting to see what actually makes the cut, because it has been a pretty packed year. I've got my own list pretty much written. We're going to see how November shakes out, but I have my own list of Game of the Year games written, because I'm going to do my own little top 10 games of the year, but I'm tempted to do a top 15 of the year just because it's been a year of bangers, man.
So, all right,
Crazy.
well, there's Baldur's Gate, and I know, here's the thing: there's actually people out there, and I
I think
know
Hogwarts is going to be in there.
Hogwarts
Zelda's going to be in there for sure.
Zelda,
Resident Evil
Hogwarts better
4,
be.
Street Fighter
I know
6.
it's going to get snubbed just because
Street Fighter
it
6
came out
not
in
going
February.
in there.
Phantom
Dead
Liberty should
Space,
be in
Dead
there.
Space is going to get snubbed. I think Phantom Liberty
Oh,
is going
yeah.
to get snubbed.
Dead Space
Just,
is
the
getting thrown
remakes
under
are
the
going to
bus.
have a hard
Oh,
time.
yeah, remakes are not going to be in this one.
Well,
No.
What
no.
about
No.
Starfield?
DLCs.
I Starfield's
that's
going in
fine.
there for Jeff Keighley's.
Nomination,
No.
I think so.
Yes, it will.
Just
Yeah,
because
because Keighley wants the trifecta of the 3. They'll have, I don't even know, like they'll have like a Spider-Man, a Zelda, and a Starfield.
Keighley doesn't vote on
And
this.
they won't
though, guys.
win. Neither.
He is not picked. It is picked by games journalists, and I'll be honest, I think the scores and stuff. Starfield. I mean, I'll bet somebody some
I
diarrhea.
can see the
tacos.
smirk on that
It's-
picklehead.
Oh, yeah,
It's
gonna be-
not going to make the cut.
I don't.
My
He's
personal
going-
prediction: it's either
He
going to
will.
be Zelda or Baldur's Gate 3 for the title. One of those.
I think
I agree. I think one of those.
I'm gonna throw it out here because I'm gonna put in my video here in like first week of December. But I think for me, Baldur's Gate 3, I think is my personal game of the year. I put
Me too.
250 hours
Oh my
into it,
gosh.
and my gosh, do I love it.
Hey, Dreamcast guy,
Wow.
who did you have relations with in that game?
I banked Shadowheart. And
Shadowheart.
I tried to suck a little dick, and they just a lot of guys were just pretty weirded out by it. So
Yeah, I don't know about your playthrough, but that curly haired fucking assassin motherfucker was trying to jump my bones the whole time.
Oh,
Yeah.
about the vampire, Alice?
Yeah,
yeah,
That was good. I did that, man. That was wild. That vampire
a
thing.
stallion. He's like, be a damn shame if you sucked me dry. It's like, calm
Oh, my-
down.
Dreamcast
Yo,
guy,
I got
he's the
trophy
funniest
for that.
character in that game.
Oh, yeah.
His dialogue makes that game like it's so over the top sometimes. Now I didn't do Shadowheart. Dreamcast guy, like I was like I shouldn't say that. I was
Oh,
I was like
yeah, I did.
like flirting with her, you know.
Mhm.
And then like what's her face? Is it Lizelle?
Lazille or whatever the fuck.
Yeah,
the
she
green
was
chick.
like, yeah, she was like, I smell you and I want to taste you. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah, she was ready too.
She has a great fucking line when you bang her where she says, I won't sleep with you, but we can sleep in the same. Or what does she say? I won't sleep with
Would
you,
you play
but
the
we can sit in
Pornhub
the
version
same-"
of Baldur's Gate? What the fuck's going on?
You can
here?
raw
got all these
dog-
drops.
you can
Holy
raw
shit, you got
dog
the Dick Sucker
anybody.
Bromp and all this other shit going on.
If you can raw dog anybody
What
if you're
kind of version you
dedicated
got?
enough.
He's grinding away.
says it.
Hidden
I'm
some shit down
clip
there.
that.
I'm like min-maxing it. I'm like looking at stat sheets like it's Diablo 4's like build charts. I'm like, all right, now if I say yes to this person 5 times, their underwear comes off. But no,
Oh my God,
I played that
that is
game.
hilarious.
Oh shit!
I played that game hard,
Mooch, you
gentlemen.
should-
Yeah, hard, yeah.
Let me
You
say,
should put a,
hold on a second. Let me
you should
say,
put a
shout
survey
out.
in the chat.
Hold on.
Mooch, see who banged who in Baldur's Gate.
Yes,
like
we'll
Lizelle,
get to that in a
Shadowheart.
second, Brad. But I want to shout out real quick to Bomber. Bomber, you have to.
Astrion.
I see Bomber says he has to leave. Bomber, thanks for being here tonight.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate it, brother. I know that you said you stay for about an hour and a half. I kept you for 2 hours. That's just what we do here.
That's right.
But shout out to Bomber. Go ahead and let everybody know where they can find you, buddy. And listen. You know I'm going to be bothering you again on Monday to come on the show. You know.
I know. It's all good. Hey, keep on it. You know, maybe we'll get it in the next couple of months. You know. But no, of course you can find me everywhere. HR Bomber. If you can't find me there, then I'm sorry. That's a you problem, not a me problem.
Skill issue.
Every Sunday, we have Gaming Beyond the Box at technically 6 o'clock Central, so I guess that's 7 Eastern. I suck with the whole Eastern thing because I'm not in Eastern time. So I always mess that up. But yeah, other than that, that's it, baby. But again, thank you, Mooch. Always a pleasure. And always fun to talk with all y'all and have fun with this whole group.
I appreciate it, Bomber. Great to have you, buddy. And like I said, look forward to having you on again. The great B Money's also in the chat. B, I just dropped you the link, buddy, for the Discord. You're already in the Discord, B Money. If B Money wants to get in here, I've been trying to get B Money, but B Money says it's more like the finals. I think that's going back to what we were talking about. I think the finals would have been something that Sony would have wanted to get their hands on. You talk about a game like that.
Yeah, I play that. That was it's interesting.
It's got potential, right, Jez?
It has potential. I love the destructible environments. That's my thing. I want that, and I love how that changes the dynamic of it. I just think the time to kill it's a little too much there. Yeah. It's too. No, it's like too. I feel like you just shooting people for a long time.
You think? I felt like people were dying too quick. For me personally, I felt like second I got tapped in the head, I was insta dead, and I tapped anybody else. I felt like. I don't know. It's a good game, but I definitely feel like I spent a lot of time
use the environment. That's the problem. Like if it, I want a more environmental kill. It's like I was just blowing things up.
Mm-hmm.
I do like that though. I wish more games did that. Just had destructible stuff like that.
Yeah,
it looks good too. I like the arcade. I think that fits into like a service game. Like it's kind of like not Running Man, but like a live kind of arcade. Who will win? Put your coin in to respawn and stuff like that. Like I think that's a cool way of gamifying and servicing, like making the game like a service, but it's like a real like a key game.
Shout out to Acute Perspective. He says Sony fans tried claiming Baldur's Gate was a PlayStation exclusive. Is pony phonies at their poniest.
Oh shit!
Pony phony.
Sony fanboys did that.
Dude, when's the Xbox version coming out? Wasn't it coming out this year? You got a month and a half left.
December 6th. There's been a leaked release date. It's not been confirmed yet, but the leaked release date on one of the storefronts is December 6th.
Oh yeah.
The same thing. It's funny. It's just, guys, you got to remember something. The console war has to evolve, right? You have to evolve. The point of the matter is that Baldur's Gate 3 coming out on PlayStation and then saying, PlayStation fans were saying it's theirs. Xbox fans do the exact same thing when a game comes out. Like everyone's talking about Stalker 2 like it's going to be game of the year next year, right? And they're like, well, Xbox is getting it 3 months or 6 months before PlayStation. It doesn't, come on. We got to evolve the wars here a bit, folks.
Did they come out and confirm that it's coming out December? I know they said by the end of the year.
Confirmed,
you said
there's a leaked release date. Yeah, it's on Twitter.
Okay, so they didn't confirm it yet.
Well, we don't know, but it's on some storefronts. So the question I've seen a lot of people is, I'm 99% sure it's coming out then. What I'm curious about is if they're gonna make more make more collector's editions, because the collector's editions on PS5 and PC sold out in like 45 seconds. If they announced, I think that's the reason they haven't publicly said the release date yet, is I bet they're getting pre-order links ready for the collector's editions, and I think they're going to sell crazy well, because I think people are going to be like a lot of PS5 fans are going to buy it just to get their hands on that collector's edition. I mean, I know I am.
Well, too, even if it's cross-save and stuff like that, then you just pick up the Xbox version. You can continue.
So let me throw the controversy out there for you guys. A lot of people are saying now, they're like, well, and a lot of people are blaming. They're saying, well, if Starfield, doesn't make the cut for Game of the Year, that they should add another nominee slot. So
you mean the one, that Halo one with the player's voice?
No, they're literally saying if there's been six different nominees,
loudest criers,
should they make a
that's the player's voice award?
What do you guys think?
Halo one,
great.
Hey,
that was great.
Mooch, you know what bothers me about the Game of the Year conversation? So much people they're all like, oh, Game of the Year, and it's like, guys, there's other Game of the Year shows like the Joystick Awards.
I just want the game announcements.
I mean,
that's
I don't. Go watch those shows, I don't understand.
I don't care who wins. I want to see the new games announced, because it's like it's the closest thing we'll get to E3 announcements.
That's what it is. That's true. That's my favorite.
And he
knows
that son of a bitch. That's why he puts like commercials all around that stuff. And then Bic shaving my ass commercials, whatever the hell he puts.
What is it? What did you just say?
The Bic,
he puts like the Bic shaving razors and stuff. I shave that ass.
I didn't hear Bic. I heard it with a D, so I was like,
I would love Jeff.
You can do that with a razor too. Holy shit.
Jeff Keighley comes out. Hey guys, we're going to talk about games, but first I'm sliding off this chair because of my liquidy smooth nutsack. Let's talk about the shavers.
God. Hey, let's just hope they have
Smooth as
better
eggs.
security this year.
You
Can
know
we
how
get
short
true,
my pants
yeah.
are and
Can we
my
get some
velvet purple jacket.
I don't want to see some crazy wacko on the mic this year. Man.
I
They
know.
better nail
So-
that security.
Oh, he's
down.
putting them on. Jose Faras. He's the he's
Hey,
like
hey,
a
Dreamcast.
he's a
He's
meme of the
cool.
thing
He's
now.
a dev, but I'm talking about these weirdos coming from
The
the
guy
crowd.
that said something about Bill Clinton last year.
Yeah,
Is that
Bill
it?
It's like 2
Clinton.
years in a
but
row. There was that
that
young
was,
kid, and then there's like
that
the
was
last
last
show
year, I
had
think.
somebody.
Oh
had something
yeah,
happen.
but that guy
Yeah.
just ran on stage. Jeff Keighley needs to increase his security.
Well,
Yeah,
so what?
Dreamcast, Dreamcast
I-
guy, they should hire you, man. The muscle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll deck a motherfucker. The suggestion I've seen a lot of people say is that they should make the stage like 2 or 3 feet high. Like it doesn't need to be absolutely ground level. Everybody in the crowd can see it. Like let one of these pasty dweebs start trying to scale. Let that little kid start trying to climb the stage. Like they'll time for Jeff Keighley to whip some ass.
Eventually, he's gonna get so frustrated. Would be funny to see Jeff Keighley just
Dude,
go.
Jeff
wow,
Keighley has to
I
come
don't-
in like
just
Cirque du
go-
Soleil and shit.
Hey,
Go
what
kung
would
fu
you
on
guys
one
do?
of these
Jeff
guys.
speared someone like Goldberg. You know, like
Dude,
like
yes.
Edge. Like how funny would that be?
Yeah.
I would do. I
And
would.
then he would just pop up
who
and
would
keep
even
going
blame
with
him?
the show like nothing happened.
Did you see? I do like when somebody ran, one of the people that ran on stage. He just randomly, ominously tweeted out, "He has been removed from the building and will bother no one anymore," or something like that. I'm like,
Yes.
he killed
Never
that shit.
again. Yeah.
He'll never bother
They
someone
put him in
ever.
video game jail.
You know, it's funny because the bragging rights for it really only last so long, anyways. Everyone's like, yeah, it's like 24 hours later, then nobody talks about it again. I want to welcome the great B Money to the show. B, this is great to get B on here. I've been trying to get B on here for a couple of weeks now, and he's got a lot of stuff going on. Football, things like that. Friday night, big time. Shout out to Bomber. Same thing with his family. A lot of football and things like that. So B, when you get a chance,
Football's dead in our house, Mooch.
oh yeah, no kidding.
Giants. The football season's over.
Sports.
Yeah, you guys
Nice.
beat us there, Jez. So
Yeah.
Whatever. It doesn't.
It doesn't matter.
We're done.
It really doesn't matter. We are
We're
so
done.
done.
Our kick all of a sudden is hurt now. After he missed 2 field goals, now he's hurt. Get
He's
the hell
hurt.
out of
Yeah,
here.
he could have told us he was hurt a week
It's-
before.
It's turf toe. He's got turf toe.
Yeah.
He's
So-
hurt. After he missed the field goal. Yeah, he's hurt now.
After we missed the field goal.
B, you're in here, buddy. It says chat locked though. You're in the room, B. I don't know if you can hear us, but you just gotta unmute your mic and you'll be good to go. Shout out to B.
Yeah,
Money.
I'm here.
Oh, there you go,
What's
B.
going on?
You're good.
Yo.
So, B, could you inform the panel in the chat what you were saying in the chat prior?
Yeah. I was just talking. You guys were talking about the games as a service thing.
Yep.
It's interesting that everybody's like, oh, I don't want Sony to do this. I don't want Sony to do this. And it's like, do you not understand that they need to?
Right.
They have to do this. All of their developers take like 4 to 5 years, 6 years to release a game. They don't have any back end money coming in off of those games. Once they hit their sales peak, it's over with.
I agree.
Most of their games are single player games. There's a reason why they went to this initiative, because they have to support themselves. They lived off of Call of Duty for all of these years because that was the biggest brand single or multiplayer game on their console.
Yes.
If you look at the most played games on PlayStation every week, it's all multiplayer games. Every single one of them, and they're all games as a service games.
Yep.
GTA. Mm.
So why
them, yeah.
would they not invest in themselves and have those same games?
I think
It only makes sense.
it's
Pe-
just the
people-
skepticism. It's that I think if I am wrong, I will happily take the L and suck some Sony toes. My God, why do I say these words? I need to stop. But the other thing is that I think initially we've just seen so many games as service fail. I don't care that the top 1% are making tens of billions of dollars. It's like it just seems like a bit like overly trusting to say that Sony is going to make the next GTA, because I don't think they are.
No, they don't have to make the next GTA, but they can make the next Sea of Thieves. They can make the next Grounded. They can
That's
make the
fair.
next-
That's actually a
they
good
can make
analogy.
the
I
next
like that.
They can make the next Rainbow Six Siege. They can make the next Division. Like, it doesn't have to be the best of the best, but they need to support themselves at the end of the day.
That's a good point.
Releasing
I'll
games
admit it.
every
To
5
put something
years
in
is not
between
gonna
the
work.
big games.
Yeah.
Put something
I mean, I don't
that's in
mind
the
them
background.
doing it at all. Like they can, like I hope they're not forcing it. Like I feel like when you see examples like Rocksteady, like that, it feels I don't know, but it just feels like that team is being forced to do that. You know? What I mean?
Right.
And I just don't want
Yeah.
to see that. I don't want to see Naughty Dog or Insomniac, or I don't want to see these big budget teams that are very good at what they do. I mean, I would hope that those teams are just left to let them do what they want. But I don't have a problem with Sony exploring it at all. Like, I just don't want them to. I just don't want to see it forced. That's all. I see the Rocksteady situation, and I just don't want to see that. Propagated across industry.
Yeah, and you don't want to see like the next big games get compromised because they're focusing on that. You know, and that's.
But I don't mind them go for it, man. If you can make a cool games as service, let's do it.
Yeah.
What multiplayer games are you guys playing right now that aren't live service games?
Everything multiplayer.
They're all live service.
Exactly.
That's why I'm glad you bring that voice of reason to the show here, because to be honest with you, that's why when everyone's like, I hate GaaS.
By the way,
I don't
Mooch,
like this.
B Money. If you want to listen to more B Money, you can hear him on Brap Wednesday night. 9
shameless
PM.
plug.
That's shameless plug.
Absolutely.
Shameless plug.
Oh damn,
nice plug there. Absolutely. So I just want to say real quick though. I got to say, B. That's the thing. We're all playing these, whether it's Warzone, whether it's Fortnite, whether it's Apex. Whether it's PUBG. It doesn't matter what it is, or like you said, smaller ones, smaller versions, which is like Sea of Thieves or Grounded. Like people are all playing these games, and then they're like, "Hey, Sony's looking to dip their toe in that pool." That's crazy. Now, I will say, I can't remember if it was Gambit or Jez that just said it. We don't necessarily want to see them lose focus on their single player, but they've said it about 100 times. They're not losing focus on their single player games. So let me ask you a question. What about a game like, and I'm picking, I didn't even try it, so I'm really just picking this one out of thin air. Are they hoping B Money? Do you think like a foam stars is something that they can maybe? I know it's Square Enix's property right now, but if that caught on, is that something that they would look to? Because that's kind of like a version of Splatoon,
Right. And that's all you need. They don't need to have this big home run. They just need to have a collection of games that's going to bring in recurring revenue that they can keep themselves. They need games that they can profit 100% off of and not 30%. Yes, it's great to have the 30% when you're clipping it off these amazing games.
Mm-hmm.
But what's better than 30%? 100.
Facts, absolutely.
What's crazy is that they had one, and I think this would have been big. It could have been big. It was with Ghost of Tsushima multiplayer.
Yeah,
I thought that was incredible, man. I wish we get something like that where they just add some multiplayer on there,
the versus mode.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
That was and that was like that could have been like something they could have just kept going with to lead us into the other one, but they kind of just I guess they stopped to move to the sequel. But like,
I gotta get out of here
because nobody has no multiplayer samurai games.
I'm just super starving. I'm gonna duck out, guys.
All right, DC, thanks for being here, buddy. I kept you over 2 hours, anyways. DC, let everyone know where they can find you, buddy, and I appreciate you being here tonight.
YouTube.com/Dreamcast guy. Got a big review for RoboCop I put up not too long ago, and Alan Wake 2. So if you're curious about if those games rock, they do. Feel free to go watch my videos explaining why specifically they rock. And thanks for having me on, Mooch.
Hey, buddy, anytime, man. We'll be in touch. Great to have you on the show, DC. Thanks for being here tonight.
Hell yeah.
All right, the great DC, everybody. But B Money, you kind of make a good point. And shout out to I'm trying to see what his name is here. I apologize. I don't want to say it wrong. It's Illegal Dad. He says, Mooch, this is what I've been trying to tell you. And B Money, you kind of backed him up. He goes, even your panel member said it. He goes, Sony's really just wants their version of a Grounded, or they want a Sea of Thieves. The one thing I said to Illegal Dad is, I think they want something a little bit bigger than Grounded. Grounded is good for a Microsoft, right? Where they just have endless sums of money. And if that trickles in anything at all, even if it's $1 profit, good for them. But I think Sony wants something a little bit bigger than a Grounded, B Money. Don't you think? I would think.
Yeah. I mean, for sure, they definitely want something that's gonna hit bigger than that. But even Grounded has its following. You know what I mean? Like people don't talk about For Honor. But For Honor has been going on for how many years now?
Many.
And there's millions of players that are still playing that. That's not a game that's on any of our radar.
Yeah,
millions of people are still playing it.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So like, it doesn't have to be like this big game that comes out of nowhere and steals everyone from Warzone and Fortnite and all that. Like, they just have to have a game that has its own following.
And I'm going to piggyback on what B's saying. Like, and it's also a lighter lift for them when you consider the cost of AAA development.
Mm-hmm.
These games, like no one's saying that. I know we say that Sea of Thieves aesthetically looks pleasing. Like no one's, but it's not a demanding game, like graphically intensive game. it probably doesn't command a AAA budget. And to B's point, like if they get a grounded type game, it's not just going to be on PlayStation. It's also going to be on PC. And if it's a game that's not, graphically intensive, we know that they have desires to kind of expand in mobile. I mean, that could be, they could create a GaaS game that, like, what's a game? Oh my God, what's it called? Genshin Impact.
Yeah,
that's to me, that's kind of like,
company has 3 games that are on PlayStation right now.
Yeah.
And they're on mobile as well and on PC.
I think where a lot of the fear comes from is just
they're trying to follow.
I think a lot of where the fear comes from is just the sheer amount of numbers. Like when like, what was that, a year or two ago, they came out and said, we're making 10 games as a service games. When you hear that and you only see 1 or 2 really big titles a year, it's like, wait, you're making what,
And
10?
that's the thing, yeah.
And it's like, I think that's just what has people spooked, you know?
But gamers gaming. But again,
people
ahead,
say that, then people don't realize PlayStation only releases like 2 or 3 titles a year anyway.
Yeah.
Please tell me a year when they release 4 or 5 titles.
They don't.
They don't.
This year's an anomaly for sure.
Right.
The industry usually isn't
that's
this
not what
popping.
they've done ever. Unless
Yeah.
it's a release year of a console is when they release that many games in a year.
Hey, B, like that's go ahead, man.
We would be lucky to get 4 games from first party from Sony in a year.
Yes, that is true.
Better hope.
Yeah, at that level, at that big level, yeah.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, to like B's point, like this is where I get confused about the narrative and the confusion, or the people being scared. Because, like, to your point, B, like they've never given us like 4 bangers in a year or 3. We might get like 1 every. And I actually think to an extent, B, and I don't know if you agree with me or not, but I feel like they've done such a really good job at consistently releasing AAAs. Look at it, we're only 3 years into the generation this November. And if you look at the body work, the first party AAA releases, even second party stuff that are exclusive to PlayStation 5.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it blows PlayStation 4 out of water.
Mm-hmm. It was all indies in the beginning of PS4.
Yeah, I mean, remember it was Indie Station. And that's why I wonder, like, I feel like people have gotten a little spoiled and have lost that perspective that kind of like B's talking about. Like, they haven't given us like 3 games a year, like AAA games. And these games, what did you say, B? They take what, 5-6 years?
Right.
Yeah.
People forget Santa Monica only released 1 game last generation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to just bring that up, B-Money. A lot of people have short-term memory. When people say, oh my God, what's going on with the PlayStation this year? The end of 2014 and 2015 was very dry for the PS4. Everyone just remembers just the latter years, and they were hot the last years. PS4 ended on a very, very high note, especially with The Last of Us 2.
Spider-Man, God of War,
Yeah, Last of Us 2, Tsushima, Death Stranding, and it just goes on and on. So my point being is that and B, tell me I'm wrong, but it looks like right now this is this year, which, by the way, if this year was Sony's 2015 of the PS4, and we still got, I know that they were third-party deals, but they still got Forspoken, they got Final Fantasy 16 and Spider-Man 2. If that's their low year, I mean, we still have Rise of the Ronin. We have Stellar Blade coming out next year. Right?
Now, are we going to get Ghost of Tsushima 2 this generation?
I think you'll get it this generation, the end.
Yeah.
Near the end. But
Death Stranding 2, I guess that's coming out. I bet I'll be at the Game Awards because Keely loves himself some Kojima.
Yeah, he does.
I'll be there.
Yeah, he loves them like I love those.
I do too, but that's
shit.
So B, do you think that this year or this generation will end the same way the PS4 did, where Sony's big hitters come out starting maybe end of next year, and then 1 or 2 big bangers each year going out until seemingly this generation ends 28, 29, I think that's what people are kind of looking at, in a crystal ball.
Yeah, I think that's when it ends, and I think similar to all of PlayStation's previous generations, all the best games are going to come towards the end. We didn't start getting great games on PS3 until the end.
Yep.
Wolverine.
Same thing with PS4.
PS4 as well.
Like it didn't start getting, the engine didn't start revving until the second half of the generation, and it was like boom, 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 boom.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be the same way, and people forget like they just bought 7 studios in the last 3 years.
That's the other thing.
All those studios are just now getting to work on their games. You know what I mean? They had some projects.
Housemarque's working on something new.
Yeah, like they had projects that were
The
in the
Blue
works.
Point, where are they?
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
They
that
did
would,
it all
I
that
do
time,
want to
so-
know what
Yeah,
Blue
they did
Point-
Demon.
I'd love to know what they're doing because Demon Souls looks so good. And
Yeah, well, good as a launch
They
title.
did such
Oh
a
my
good
God.
job.
Well, I think when it
Yeah.
comes to, you think
Yeah.
Blue Point, I mean, is Sony doing anything, you think, with, or PlayStation doing anything with From Software? You think there's any kind of correlation there at all? And I'm not even alluding to a Bloodborne 2. I mean, if that comes, that's funny. There's very few games that make you fall out of your chair watching it during a showcase. If Bloodborne 2 is ever shown, that would be something that would be a wow. That's a wow moment for me. Because I don't see it happening. But unless they take the IP and they give it to, Blue Point, which a lot of people have speculated. But
I think From is on their own path doing their own thing, but I mean, it would be great if they could collaborate and cook up something.
Well,
I mean, From is breathing that rarefied air, in my opinion.
You know what?
Sony's- Sony
The
has
Elden Ring money.
Yeah.
You know what's interesting from a historical perspective, and B, and Mooch, and I don't know everyone else's age here. Maybe Jez. I think Jez is like 55.
Holy shit!
I'm just messing with you.
He's like,
I'm that
Jez,
old.
Jez, I'm assuming you're like close. Sorry, but you remember the
40,
PlayStation
right?
2? The PlayStation 2. A lot of people remember this. It wasn't defined by Sony's first party.
no,
It
not at
No, it
all.
was all the
Yeah,
exclusives they got because they were the only popular console.
and if you go back to like what Jim Ryan
Yeah.
was saying early on with the generation, and I think B, you talked about this quite a bit too. Correct me if I'm wrong, but it was a kind of a combination of first party and building partnerships for second, third party exclusives. So I know people put a lot of importance on first party, but I think they're also lining up exclusive content that are made by third party developers. That because that's what they've traditionally done too. It's PlayStation 2 era. You saw more of that. PlayStation 3 towards the tail end, they start doubling down on first party because they needed to. PlayStation 4, you start seeing a combination of more, and I feel like now they're really accelerating the partnerships and in combination of the first party stuff. And we still have, look, somebody mentioned Spider-Man 2. We have Wolverine, which probably may launch at the end of this generation too.
I think Wolverine's end of 25. If you really want to kick the can, early 26.
Yeah.
Being realistic. And shout out to Shadow. I'm just looking here. Shadow Neil. You guys sound like Xbox players. Wait for next year, buddy. Spider-Man 2 just came out a week or two,
What
2 weeks ago.
are you talking
And
about?
it's a game of the year. It's a
You
game
want
of
drugs?
It's a game of the year nominee, possibly. I would assume it makes a game of the year nom.
Who said this, Mooch? Who said this?
Shout out to the great Shadow Neil.
Shadow Neil.
Literally.
Shadow Neil. Here's what you got to do, man. Lay off the weed because I know you smoke weed, and stay away from stop playing with asbestos.
Asbestos is not good for you.
And put down those Olive Garden
What are you
breadsticks.
talking about?
Hey, don't
Spider-Man
slander
just
the
came out, and
breadsticks.
it's got like a
Dip them in butter.
15% completion rate already. So
Say
What'd you
again,
say,
B money.
Like, I said, Spider-Man just came out and it's got like a 15% completion rate on it. Like,
Right. I mean,
Incredible.
I got the plat on it, and listen. I'm not saying necessarily it's my game of the year, Spider-Man 2. I haven't finished Alan Wake yet, too, so I do want to reserve judgment.
Mooch,
But
you got to play Baldur's Gate.
That's
3,
my
man.
next.
I know, but Baldur's Gate. Listen, even if I played through Baldur's Gate and I loved it, I can tell you right now that's not usually my bag. That type of game. So
Your
But
game of the
Spider-Man-
year, yeah.
Spider-Man
Mooch,
2 was
Mooch,
so
once
much
you have
fun,
relations
man.
with Lizelle, your mind will change.
I said, listen, I said I would pick it up on PS5 for around the holiday when there's a sale. I definitely will. Shout out to Black Dragon. He says, Mooch, you forgot Quantum Error. That's a banger. Yes, yeah, that's true, Dragon. I will. I'll put that on my reserve nominee list. No, but
And I won't play RoboCop. That's my next. I won't play that too.
Yeah.
I
for sure.
And like I said, I had to say it. I got the review code from Keymailer, so shout out to them for that. I appreciate that, and the developers that gave it to me. So I just got the RoboCop thing, the code literally a couple hours before Crossfire went live. That's why I put some footage on here for you guys to watch. But like, I can't wait to play it. It's a lot of fun. I'm not making more than what it is. I'm not telling you got to run out there and go buy it. It's definitely an indie game. Here it is right here playing on the screen as we speak. But it's legitimately it's a fun game to play, and it really tugs at the nostalgia heartstring.
That studio is really good. If you played the Terminator game they made, they're really good at making you feel like if you're a fan of that, like if you're a RoboCop fan, they'll probably do a really good job of making you, paying good homage to that. And they really like the Terminator. My experience with the Terminator, it's a AA game. It wasn't the greatest game in the world. But but just even everything from the way the weapons sound, like they really take care. Like if you're a fan of the franchise, like then you're gonna probably love this game. If you're a RoboCop person, I have a feeling you're gonna love RoboCop.
Yeah, and shout out to Basher. He says that shout out to Basher in the chat. He says Killzone, Shadowfall, Infamous Second Son, God of War, Bloodborne, Ratchet and Clank, all Uncharted 4 was the first half. Yeah, but we also had a good first half. No one gives Sony credit for it. But you did have Returnal, you had Horizon Forbidden West, you had the new Ratchet and Clank. You had GT7. You had God of War already, right? So the first half, Final Fantasy 16. There's been games that have come out for the PS5 in the first half that have also been really good games as well.
Returnal. I mean, come on.
Yeah,
can I just say something about Returnal? Like, I feel like Returnal doesn't get its just due.
It really
not
doesn't.
at all,
it really
dude.
doesn't.
I like.
I feel like people aren't like they're not giving props to like Housemarque. Go play Resogun, okay, which is a good game.
Mm-hmm.
And they took like an evolutionary step in their design philosophy in
100%.
gaming, and just took it to a different level.
They took a bullet hell game and they turned it into a 3D like experience, and it is fucking amazing. It is amazing.
So amazing. The bullet hell, like I'm like, holy shit! Like I wasn't when they said they were making like a third person game. I'm like, I don't know.
They did so good.
Give me more Resogun. But they to the point where Sony's like, you know what, we're gonna buy you. Like it was that good.
Yeah,
it is that good, and that game got me into harder games. It got me to like the Soulsborne games, and Returnal got me. Like I loved Returnal so much. It enabled me to just keep, even though I would die, I would just keep trying because it was so fun. And the bosses and the moments. I'm not gonna ruin nothing, but that game, man. If you haven't played Returnal, you owe it to yourself.
And then they added co-op to it. They had multiplayer.
Yeah, they had a co-op. Yeah. Oh, I got to go back and play that, man.
I do want to make a point though, Brap. You made a really good point. Like, first of all, Returnal. You say Returnal now with all the big blockbuster games that are coming out, and it does kind of get shuffled down. But Returnal is still one of my favorite games of this generation. I got the platinum, and I think I have 120.
You got the platinum in that, Mooch?
Yeah.
Wow, that's done.
122 hours. 120
pain in the butt platinum because of the randomness of it.
You found all those. I remember when he found all those runes, those random runes on the wall.
Yes, that's what took me so long. I had to keep playing through them until they what's the word there? When they just
they spawn those rune things on the wall,
right? They spawn randomly. Yeah.
ROG or whatever the fuck it's called.
Yeah. So I do think that Astro Cyborg, he says PS4 over PS5. I give the nudge to PS5 personally, Astro, and it's personal preference. If you could make a case for PS4 at this point, if you went head for head.
They did have a big indie push in the beginning of that PS4, which that was the big industry darling because indies kind of was struggling, like trying to find a place, and you remember that? They had a lot of stuff.
That was the big
Stardust HD and like all that stuff they had. Contrast.
So now I gotta say, I got a topic here, and it's gonna get Jez all riled up.
It's about the Giants.
Oh damn!
So here we go. So
I'm talking about D-ball.
No.
Damn it!
Hey, Coach of the Year.
Microsoft.
My ass. That was like one of those Phil Spencer awards that some of the bitch won.
Oh yeah, well there's that. Yeah, no, we're not gonna bring that.
He made his own award for him. He did not. Yeah, no.
I wonder if Jez. I know we talked about it on one of the grindhouses already. Microsoft announces it'll cancel all free Xbox Game Pass Ultimate services for current employees. My question to you, Jez, is why now? Why right now?
Well, they changed it. Phil Spencer saved it. Didn't you see the news up right before the podcast? Phil Spencer came in and saved it and said everybody's getting it back.
All right.
There you go. Phil Spencer, the hero. He's multitasking. He was at BlizzCon and he saved the day at Xbox.
Man for the people. Man of the people.
He is, man. He I don't know who. And it was funny because I saw the article where they asked him. Somebody wrote to him and he's like, I have no idea what happened, but I got to look into it. And then he saved the day, No, that's what he does.
So all Xbox employees get to keep, or Microsoft employees get to keep their Xbox Game Pass.
for next year. He said. I think he said for 2024. So who knows what happens next? But like, yeah, they're there to keep it. He said
they get to keep it for another year.
I saw somebody
Well,
do
I
the
think
math. It was like $4 million a month or something like that.
Well, what I think is pretty interesting is that why would people complain if it's such a great value? They should feel like oh, there was a perk, but it's going away now, and I'll pay for it because it's such a great value. Why would they complain? Is it not a great value?
Look, man, I free,
dude, like
anything moving from the free to having to pay categories
is the greatest value.
But if they believe in it, if they believe in the service, then they should, $15 a month. Everybody's freaking out.
I think what I found,
their own employees.
The one thing that I found odd, and I wanted to ask you this, B Money, like
and they can reduce the size of my coffee cup, and I'll complain. Okay,
that's booty.
The one thing that I found odd was that Phil didn't know that they were cutting this. like B, is that like, I don't know, B, like, is that seems odd to me based on my own experience of when companies have cut like certain like perks. Like usually a line manager or other managers know it's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Like B, like
you find that kind of odd, means, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
You know that it came from the top.
Well, yeah,
I'm sure. Came from HR,
but usually
somebody above Phil's head, probably someone directly under Satya, and they started looking at the numbers. You know what I mean, with the CFO, and they're like, "Hey, we could recoup this $4 million or whatever it is a month if we start having these guys pay for this."
That's it.
You know what I mean? They just spent $70 billion.
Well, you see what happened? They fired all the chefs, and Phil's now in the lunchroom cooking pancakes. That's it. They're saving money that way too. Oh, Phil's the chef as well. He saved the lunchroom.
But B, here's the thing. Like, I agree with you, but I just find it odd that like Phil didn't know. Like, because usually, at least in my experience, again, this could be normal. This could be normal to Microsoft. So I'm not trying to make this like, oh, everything's in trouble at Microsoft. What I'm saying, my own personal experience, usually when these budgetary items are cut, usually like the head of the division knows that it's coming. He didn't know. And maybe that's the case at Microsoft. Maybe that's how they work. I just found it odd based on my own experience.
They probably didn't tell him because they knew that he was going to argue against it.
Yeah.
Which he did.
They waited for it to go public, and people fought against it. And then now it's to Phil's attention, and he went to bat for all the employees. So I don't know if he got it for lifetime or for a year, whatever the case may be. But they knew that Phil was going to fight against it. And that's why they didn't tell him. That's
interesting, B, because I think exactly what you said is probably what transpired. But I think when it comes down to it, they probably got another year. But now that Phil went and got them the year, now they know that this is it. You know what I mean? Instead of just pulling the rug out, now they're like, hey, guys, take the year on me. I fought for you guys, but that's not going to happen every year. It's not going to happen.
Right.
So
yeah.
Phil not only saved the day for the year, but he also made it so it was more of a subtle blow. They didn't really, you know what I mean? Now you know. So I mean, but it is shocking because this is the second time. Correct me if I'm wrong, Brap. Isn't this the second time? Remember when there was the whole thing where Microsoft got rid of Xbox Live Gold and they were kind of forcing everybody into Game Pass and going to the $120 a year? And I thought Phil said the same thing. I thought he was like, I had no idea. Let me look into it. And then they reversed it in 24 hours.
He said he had no idea about Redfall either, so I don't know what's going on. I don't know. He's the head of gaming.
I don't know. What does he know? Shit.
I don't remember.
He knows where there's an interview for him to talk on. That's all he knows about. He was on BlizzCon stage and he said StarCraft, and everybody said Phil Spencer. They went, I don't know. He knows where to be for the PR, but like if it's bad news, he'll know. Yeah, he's like he pulls out his friggin' it wasn't me. It wasn't me. I don't know.
It wasn't me.
I don't know, Mooch. Like it's kind of like I said,
you don't know.
It's interesting. Like I don't know if that was the case with the gold stuff, but
yeah.
What's interesting though is that like typically I think it was Mooch or B Money said that some people up top, like the finance people, are looking at this like it's $4 million. They're probably looking at like engagement. Like, are people really utilizing this benefit? Because from an HR perspective, like sometimes like those costs, like those like perks that we get as employees, sometimes they'll look at like, are people really using this? And if they're not, why are we spending money on this?
Right.
And they'll cut them. That's been my experience.
That's an
That's-
interesting
yeah.
point. So that's another interesting figure we'll never know, though, Brap. is
So they'll cut
how
something
many-
and they'll cut something else now from them.
Because think about there's that. How many people?
Booty's
that
no
are-
longer delivering coffee to everybody.
I wonder how many people at Microsoft are actually using Xbox Game Pass. They probably looked at it and they're like, not a lot of people are using it. Cut that. So I don't know. That's
data issue.
right? Well, I don't know. Brap's he's the metrics numbers guy. Yeah. So I mean, that is definitely something. I got to ask B Money while he's here. B. A lot of people are. I have it pre-ordered. I'm excited for it. I think it depends on everybody's household. I can see where some people in the chat are going to go, Mooch. No, that's not for me. I don't want it. That's fine. I wouldn't talk you into it. But B, are you in on the PlayStation Portal that's coming out in about 10 days?
Oh yeah, I'm there, man. I'm probably the only one on Brap who's been talking about how excited I am about it. I'm a big sports fan. I mean, I watch all football games.
Me too.
Even college football games on Saturday. So for me, that actually limits a lot of my game time because I do watch a lot of sports.
Yep.
You know what I mean? NBA just started, so I'm on the League Pass like every night, checking out games or whatever. So for me to have that device and, still be able to, watch all the things that I want to watch and get some gaming time in is perfect. So I'm definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah, see, I'm right there with you, big time. Red Zone, I'm watching. I first of all, I'm in like 2-3 fantasy leagues. I'm in 2 this year, 3 last year. Like I'm in 2 fantasy leagues. I have so many. I watch every game that's on that I can possibly watch. Of course, I'm a Giants fan, which is depressing, but that's fine.
That's why we watch Red Zone.
That's why I watch
because I'm not
Red
watching that Giants game.
I watch everything. So like I'm constantly I'm even watching the hour and a half before. There's a couple of really good football podcasts. For me, I like to be able to enjoy my sports, but I'm not going to get like knee deep into like an Alan Wake game where I'm trying to concentrate on things. But like I can farm, I can get some trophies, get some finish, clean some things up in games. Games like the game that just came out. I apologize. I'm going to look at it right here. I didn't buy it. I'm going to wait. Star Ocean, the second story art, like that's a game I would definitely jam out on a PlayStation Portal or Sea of Stars. Those types of games. I would like to get into some of those. Those are games I can play, like you say, before you go to sleep. This and that, blah blah blah. I just think, and I think at the $199, people are like, well, I would rather play it natively. I get that. I really do. I get that. But I have a Steam Deck. I had the ROG Ally, which I sold. I got rid of that. I kept the Steam Deck. But my point being is that those are $400, $500, $600, $700 devices. People would have said if Sony came out with a $500 device right now, just like they did with VR2, that's dead in the water, Mooch. Well, they came out with a really affordable $199 peripheral that you can have and play and use alongside your PS5 for $199. I mean, $199 is a lot when you sit here and we talk about it like that. But think about it right now, everybody right now at home. Think about all the gifts you're going to be buying over the holidays. A lot of the gifts, even if your kids ask for AirPods. AirPods are $250. I mean, like everything is $200 these
Their
days.
headphones $200.
Yeah, everything. It
Wireless
doesn't matter.
headphones.
Controllers are $70, Jez. So my point to you is it $199 price tag to be able to play something when you're on the go or around the house or in the yard or whatever, to be able to keep playing your PlayStation experience and that link technology? That's what I'm really going to judge it on. I am going to be harsh on this item. If that link really gives me that one-to-one, because people go, well, Mooch, I can do it with my iPad. I've tried it on my iPad, and I have the new iPad Pro, and it doesn't feel good. Like I don't like playing remote play on the iPad. I don't. I have to continue.
I tried it. It's not bad, but you're right. There is you get the stutters, or you get the artifacting and stuff like that. And I want to see how this thing connects. I have it pre-ordered as well. Plus, I think too, the other thing that you miss out on is that when you have an iPad, you got to get a dual sense. So you have to have a controller and then the iPad on top of that as well. And then when you try to put it on PC, even on the Asus Ally or anything like that, if you use their official app, you got to still use a DualSense. So you can't use the native controllers unless you put the side load, that Shikiri thing, which I tried, another app on there. But their official one doesn't support the native controls there. So therefore, this thing, just with the controller there, you're going to get all the stuff of the DualSense. And I think it's going to be the most ergonomic portable device because it's the controller with a screen in the middle.
Yes.
And it's going to have that symmetric feel, and I think it's going to be the most ergonomic in your hand and feel. Now, battery life, we have to see how long. Plus, it doesn't have Bluetooth in it, so we're going to either have to use the new headsets or use a wired headset on it. So It doesn't have Bluetooth on it.
Myself personally, I don't.
And also we need to see what else it can do. If it only does that, or if there's a UI, if there's any side loading, or if there's anything you can do with it, or it's just that app and stuff like that.
I think it
may have Android on it. Who knows?
It may. I'm thinking right now, and I understand people's gripe with the Bluetooth. I really do. Myself personally, the reason I say it doesn't affect me is I've been waiting since the 360. I've been waiting since the 360 era. I can't wait till the PlayStation Pulse earbuds come out. Like for me to be able to throw on an earbud, I can still have chat with my friends, or I can just listen to, like you say, I have one ear listening to the game, one ear still listening, and be able to just jam out like that. I've always wanted to have earbuds. Listen, I have so many. Everyone in the chat, everybody on the panel. How many headsets? I have so many headsets over the years. For podcasting, for gaming, it's kind of ridiculous. I don't even want to say the number. It's insane. I actually like the idea of having the earbuds.
I'm not the only one.
No, Gamut.
And actually, first off, I just want to say that there are. I have the ones that are for the Meta ones. I forget who makes them. Not Acer. Anchor makes them. They have the USB-C, so you may be able to use those as well. So they're like $80, $70 earbuds that work with chat and everything like that on PlayStation and also on this device too. So there are other ones besides the $200 ones that they're launching. There's the Anchor ones. That are like $80, and then there's also the P3s is another headset, I think, and they're both made for like USB-C dongles because you need a dongle in there. I don't know if you need the dongle for the PlayStation Buds. I think you just turn them on. It comes with a dongle, I think, for the console, but not for the device. I think you just turn them on and they work.
I think you just turn them on and they work. That's the whole idea behind the Link. Right?
I want the Pulse Elites though. I want those. I like that.
Oh, you want the Pulse Elite? You want the headset?
Yeah, I want that one because I have the buds. I have those other buds I have, but I want the Elite Pulse. I want to test those planar drivers. I want to hear how that sounds because that's something unique.
Let us all.
But the little ones have them too.
No, well, yeah, they do. Of course, it'll be on a scaled. It'll be scaled down, but I mean, I just want them for the convenience factor. Like, I don't always like having this like apparatus over.
Or one in your ear, and you could talk, and
it's just easy. Yeah. Don't get me wrong.
I've been doing buds more often. I have these other ones, and they're less.
Dude, they're just so comfortable. That Xbox 360 bud that used to go in the one ear. I used to use that more often than my headset. And again, not for competitive gaming. If you're competitive,
I had the Modern Warfare one. And the Halo one. I had two of them.
I'm shocked, Brap, I got to be honest with you. B-Money just gave you the best answer. Like, that was the best sales page. That was way better than anything I've done in the past few weeks on here. Brap, Brap's got a huge family. Brap, I'm shocked this is something that just screams this portal. I'm shocked you're not into it.
It's not for me. It's not for me. I mean, my kids are, gaming on, TVs. It's not something I would use.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that it's a bad device. I mean, it's just not for me. I'm not the market, like the addressable market for that kind of device. And but I get why they're doing it. I mean,
is it because you don't like the smaller screen, Brap? Is it the screen that bothers you?
No, I mean, I just would prefer to play, my OLED, and
understood.
It's like, it's just not for me. It's not something that I would use. But I understand like why Sony's doing it. I mean, at $200, it's probably an easy lift for them.
Yeah,
it's very Apple-esque. They're just trying to sell more products to people that are in their ecosystem the way Apple does.
No, you're not.
I get it.
You're not wrong. I've
it's
always,
not for me.
Every second generation, I pick up a new thing of the Apple AirPod Pros. I like them. They work phenomenal. The noise canceling. That's the other thing. There's noise canceling with these. And Jez, you're one of the tech guys I always. So these the Pulse earbuds, they'll have noise canceling. I know that, but do they also? I heard they also pair with your cell phone. Yeah,
they do. They have a simultaneous connection too.
Okay. Yeah. So you can be playing a game and get a call. That's a nice little option.
And there's also some weird thing. They also released the H9 buds for $200 too. I think B-Money. Did you order those? Somebody ordered them. I think somebody saw on Twitter ordered them. We're getting them on Saturday.
So shout out to Zuby Tech. I originally, when I first saw those, thought
those were the H9 buds.
I thought they were the Pulse ones with the link. And I said, I'm going to get these. I said it on Twitter. And then I tweeted later. I was like, no, I'm not, because I'm not going to get those. I want to wait for the Pulse ones that have the link.
Yeah, those don't have the planar ones. The H9s are more akin to their M5s. their traditional earbuds, Sony ones. And this is more, it has a PC app and all this other stuff.
Right.
Where this one is more for the console and their portal.
Yeah. Now, Gamut, quick question. I know Gamut said he has to leave soon. Gamut, we're actually going to wrap up the show in a minute, but Gamut, question for you. Are you picking up the portal?
No, I'm not gonna pick it up. I do use remote play sometimes. I have a backbone and I like it. The one thing I don't like about the backbone though is like anytime you want to take a phone call or a text while you're playing, you have to it kicks you all the way out and you have to go. It makes me not want to use it. But me and the wife have our own TV setups, and so I don't really. If I want a game, I'm just going to use my big 65-inch OLED. So I have a hard enough time catching up and using my Switch, trying to keep up with those games. So if in the portable situations, I'm just trying to catch up with what Nintendo's got going on usually. So no, I'll stick to my PS5, at home for that kind of stuff. But I would agree. I think people that like to multitask or have kids, I think that's a great solution for them.
Yeah, I think I definitely. Well, listen, again, and shout out to the great Zuby Tech. A lot of people were bashing it, saying it's going to be garbage, it's going to be this and that. It sells out. It's sold out on Amazon. It's sold out in a few other places. I really think it's going to be a big. I think it's a big W for them for the holiday. $199 under the tree. Again, no matter what you're buying, even if you're buying an older version of an iPad, the older iPads are $250. So I mean, like, this is just another one of those $200 items.
And I'm wondering if you could turn off the screen and just use it as a controller.
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
Well, that's a good question. Yeah.
It really does come down to the ergonomics, though. Jez, people are really not understanding that you've gone through multiple. I've done the Steam Deck. I've done the ROG Ally. I can play those games. I think those devices, they're fine. But to be able to take the DualSense and put that in your hand and it feels like you're just holding a controller, I think that's going to be able to allow for much more gaming and much more comfortable gaming.
And you're right. And I've been gaming on these portable devices too. And I think the Steam Deck out of all of them has the best ergonomics because of the symmetry of the sticks and you holding it. And that's why this is going to be symmetrical as well, because the PlayStation controller is symmetrical. So you can have your thumbs at the same spot. It's a controller with a screen on it. It's not a screen with controllers attached to it. That's why this is a controller with a screen. So the ergonomics are gonna be there. We just got to see how the functionality is, the battery life, and if it plays better than the remote play, which I think it should. Like, it should connect directly to it. And who knows if this Pro exists, which it may do, and maybe they integrate it somehow. I want to see a second screen type thing, like have this integrate with some screens and like Madden plays and stuff like that. It'll be cool if people start doing that, but who knows? That's like, I never tried that second screen stuff. I think that ship has sailed, maybe.
I agree. But B-Money,
good old VMU, the good old Dreamcast.
Yeah, the Dreamcast thing. Even Smart Glass. Remember Smart Glass?
Yeah.
Dude, I remember like Dead Rising 3, they will call you on your iPad or something like that and give you a mission. And it'll sync with the game.
I remember calling plays on NFL 2K, NFL 2K1, NFL 2K5.
B, did you have something to add to this? I heard somebody.
No. I was just going to ask you why did you decide to give up the Ally and keep the Steam Deck?
So with the Ally, it was the nonstop updates. I had to update the Asus ROG Allies. They had their interface and their updates that came out every day. Then there was Windows, and I had to update that every other day, or maybe once as it got going. It was better and better. But then it was also the ergonomics again. It wasn't comfortable to hold for long periods of time. When I did use the Ultra, Jez, help me with some of the terminology now, because I only kept it for about a month. Then I got rid of it. Was the when you're using the 30 watt, it got hot. It got really warm.
Yeah, I got rid of mine because it destroyed my SD cards, and that still has never been fixed. It roasted my SD cards.
So when you're
close to the vent.
When you're using its highest performance output, B-Money, it would get really, really hot. It just, to me personally, it was more upkeep. I felt like I was doing more work to keep it up to date than I was to playing on it. What I love about the Steam Deck is and this is a great one-to-one that everybody says on the internet. The Steam Deck is it's a PC, portable, and it runs like a console. You turn it on, you play your game. You turn it on, you play the game. I turn on the ROG Ally, you got to update everything. You got to check this, you got to do that. Blah, blah, blah.
Windows there.
It does have the only thing that was nice is that it was nice that it was Windows, and the fact that it had, that did make it so you could put your Game Pass on there if you have it. It was a little bit easier to get to like, your Blizzard games. If you wanted to play games like Destiny on there, it's a little easier. There's a lot of workaround on the Steam Deck, but I'm not playing competitive Halo or Destiny or Call of Duty on my Steam Deck or the ROG Ally. It's just the Ally. Again, Steam. You pick it up, you play it. It's easy. It's simple. It's just kind of, and that's what when you're on the go. Like, especially think about it. You're taking a lot of these devices on the road, right? You're working, you're on the road. All of a sudden, you're in the hotel. You got to use the hotel Wi-Fi to download this thing. You got to wait. I had to open a folder, drag the thing over. It was just, I don't know. For myself personally, I thought it was more work than fun.
I want to get a Steam Deck for emulation because I recently got into PC games and like playing old games like NFL Street and like on the Steam Deck, dude. Oh my god, that sounds so good to me.
I'm going to throw a wrench in this whole thing. I've been playing on the Legion Go. I just got this.
What do you think?
Dude, I want to say I just did a live thing on my channel on it. I'm gonna tell you, like it fixes a lot. I think that it's big. This is bigger than the Steam. It's taller than a Steam Deck. It's 8.8 screen, but with the detachable controllers, like Switch and the kickstand, you could like sit back and play. And it's also pretty cool that it has a trackpad on it, because that's the one thing the Ally missed, and that's what drove me crazy with Windows, because it will constantly go between the joystick and then controlling the desktop, through joystick and desktop. This has a built-in trackpad just like a Steam Deck, so all those windowisms when it's like select yes to install when you just want to sit back and play a game.
Yep.
You can easily navigate that because you have an integrated trackpad right into the controller. And what's great about it is I hooked this up to the TV. You detach the controllers and you sit back and they just work. They seamlessly just work with it. Like it really, I'm impressed with it so far. It definitely doesn't have a good enough software though of the overlay that the Asus had, but it's definitely. I've been playing the screen, and the screen's incredible, and it's a Windows tablet basically with Switch controllers on it.
I find whether we're talking about the PlayStation Portal, or we're talking about the Steam Deck, or we're talking about anything right now, I'm playing a lot more of like the indie games on them, or I'm just like I'm cleaning up games that I haven't finished, like for the PlayStation.
Yeah, or leveling up
Fortnite.
That's what I've been doing for my son. He put me to work.
So same thing with me. So you'll see me on a lot more Fortnite. I'm bringing my talents to Fortnite because I can't get any of my friends. All my friends really left. They don't play Warzone anymore. They just don't. So I'm like a lot of them.
Fortnite. I like Fortnite. My son got me into it. I'm like, I never was into it, and then I got into it.
I went to Apex for a while, but there's just something about Apex that does not. It just doesn't sit with me. I think it's the powers. Yeah. I don't know.
And with that Unreal update on Fortnite, it looks nice too.
It does look real nice. So I started playing that again the past couple of days, and now with the OG map back. The one thing I'm going to do, just because I feel like if I don't teach myself better, I'm not a real Fortnite player. I'm gonna go into the build in the creative area and teach myself. Like, if you see me in Fortnite, I'll be building and just getting faster and faster and better because I want to get like really good at that. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to be as quick as like as you say, the kids. You know what I mean? Out there, Jez. I don't think me and you are going to be. I don't think our fingers move.
I don't build the shit, dude. Right. I told you, I'm like the Hillary Clinton face when I shoot somebody in building. I'm like looking up. I'm like, whoa! Like I just stand at the bottom. I'm like, I'm just shooting at your stuff. Like I can't build like that. You shoot them once, and all of a sudden they build the goddamn friggin' tower. I was like, whoa.
Oh, that's so great.
Hey, Mooch, listen, I got to roll, man. Gamut, I appreciate you having me today, though.
Gamut, thank you, buddy. Let everyone know where they can find you. And actually, I was just going to do outros, but go ahead, Gamut. Let everyone know where they can find you. Thanks for being here, buddy. I appreciate it. I kept you here for almost 3 hours.
Anytime, man. I always enjoy talking games with you. I was glad to see B-Money come on here and give the other opinion as far as games as a service. I try not to be closed-minded, so I do enjoy hearing like other opinions and other takes. So I thought that was nice. So thanks for having me. You can find me at GamersGamutYT on Twitter. You can also find me on YouTube. But yeah, thank you again. I'll catch you on the next one, Mooch.
Thanks, Gamut.
It's good talking with all y'all.
Always, brother.
Hey, man.
Shout out to Highlander. I missed these super chats. He said, I would love to see something like Forge used with COD. Maybe have these teams get together and share talent. And shout out to Silent Merc. He says, I've been playing Destiny for 10 years. The layoffs are fully on Pete Parsons, not Sony. The Destiny devs warned upper management over and over and over again. Shout out to Silent Merc. Alfonso Carter, a Mooch Maniac family member. He says, bro, this GT7 update is huge. Taking me.
I heard about that.
So shout out to Alfonso Carter. Yeah, that was the one thing I wanted to get to. I didn't get a chance to get to that tonight. I did have it on the list. That guy Smitty says, love the late shows, Mooch. Yeah, we go late a little bit now, more often than not. I enjoy it too. It's Friday night. We're talking games. We're having a good time. We had some special guests pop in. Great to have the great Jez 7780 and B Money 101 come in on the second hour and make the show just that much more better. Jez, I'll start with you and go B Money. Jez, let everyone know where they can find you. Thanks for being here tonight, buddy.
Sure. No, thank you so much for the invite, and it's a pleasure speaking with everybody. Shout out B Money, shout out Dreamcast Guy, and everybody else that was on Balma. And thanks again. It's always awesome Friday nights, man. Chatting up games, playing some games, and also too, we can't deny, like, no matter what's going on with the industry, the games that we've got as customers, we should appreciate all that because we got tons of games from all different types of from everybody this year. Like, there was nobody that skimped out. Everybody gave this is a great year in games. So hopefully the Game Awards doesn't, it is what it is. It's the Keeley PR show, but I just think overall, dude, there's games everywhere, and I think it's a great it's great for all of them with all the games going on because we had so many freaking games. Like I still have Alan Wake. I want to play RoboCop.
Yep.
I still got to finish Final Fantasy. I got to finish Spider-Man. I'm almost done with that. Like it's just
Jez, you got work to do, brother. You got work to do.
I got tons of work to do, and then I'm playing Halo. I was like jumping back. I was playing Halo. I was like, God damn. And I'm leveling up in Fortnite. What the hell am I doing here? So it's like but shout out to everybody on the show. Thank you. Hit that like button, everybody, for Mooch and everybody that was on the show tonight. You can follow me over at Jez7780 Gaming Grindhouse over on YouTube, and I just did the video, with the Legion, and I had a show a couple of days ago going over everything that's been going on in the industry-wise. But I have a Gaming Grindhouse podcast every Monday night at 8:00. So catch you over there, and follow everybody here as well. And see, I'm also on Twitter very rarely, but that's Jez7780 over there. Thanks again.
Absolutely, Jez. B Money, let everybody know where they can find you, buddy. Thanks for popping in. Honestly, I remember we were talking behind the scenes, and you said, you got to hit me up after football season. So I was thinking December I was going to ask you again. But B, whenever you get a chance, dude, do exactly what you did. You always can come on the show. So B, let people know where they can find you. And thanks for popping in tonight. I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure, man. I appreciate you sending me over the link. It was a great conversation. Great to be back on with you guys. You can find me everywhere. Same name, B Money 101. Find me on all your local gaming consoles and on Twitter at that same name. So once again, appreciate you, Mooch, for letting me get on here and give my opinion on some of these topics. And hopefully I'll be back on here soon.
Well, we're looking forward to that return, B. I'm going to bother you in the DMs like I do with everybody. It's just what I do. B, I appreciate you being here. Thank you. I'm going to give a couple shout outs real quick. Shout out to Brap How to Leave This Basement Radio Arcade Podcast, Wednesday nights at 9:00. TC couldn't make it tonight, so shout out to TC Gaming. TC maybe will be able to join us next week. It's TCMF2 over on Twitter, and I believe it's TC Gaming over on YouTube. Gamers Gamut was just left. The Great Gaming Forte couldn't make it either. It's gaming_Forte. Him and Slow Mo Backslap Thursday nights 9 p.m. Eastern. They do DPS. The Great HR Bomber. That's at HR Bomber over on Twitter, and he does Gaming Beyond the Box with the great Wilmy Hood. So go over and check him out as well. The great HR Bomber was with us tonight, and of course, the great Dreamcast guy who had to leave at the 2-hour mark. But shout out to DC. Always great when he comes on and gives his gaming, let's just say gaming knowledge on it. He plays a lot of games. He has a lot of games. He has a lot of years in the industry, and he does a lot of hard work on his channel. Go over and check him out as well at Dreamcast guy. Guys, hit the like button on the way out. If you're listening later, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Really means the world to me. Consider joining the channel. It really does help. And like I said, I am probably about a week out before the announcement. We're going to be doing another show on the channel. Really excited to talk to you guys about it. It's definitely going to be entertaining. You guys are going to love it. That being said, enjoy your weekend. And shout out also to Button Basher as well. But we're going to get Basher back on the show in a few weeks too. It's going to be a good time. I want to say shout out to everybody here. Great panel, great chat. Hit the like button. Enjoy your weekend. Go play some Alan Wake, some RoboCop, or do what Jez just said. Get that backlog finished. Let's go. We'll see you guys next Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern time. Peace out and good night.